How good is this? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AAOL, brought to you by AOESports and produced by Koala Esports. We're bringing up season 13 here, and I'm Stranger. Joining me is Opara.
Hello, hello. Yes, we've got some great matches coming up tonight for you all. Of course, another great night of AOL. If you're new here and you don't know what AOL is, it's a 5-week long round robin bracket. There's two sets of them, two stages. We're currently on, I believe, stage 14, season 14, stage
Yes.
2. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, and we got some great matches coming up for you tonight. Two matches, of course, as always. We're going to be starting off with Swinburne White versus Leyline Dragons, and then later tonight we'll have This Is the Problem versus Ace Jokers.
Yeah, really, really good lineups. Both teams quite even as well, especially for this first matchup in this Div 7. Swinburne and Dragons both having won their first two matchups. Swinburne, sorry, and Dragons both winning their first two matchups in this competition so far. So they're looking pretty neck and neck in terms of the competitive level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. These are some great looking teams, and it's going to be a bit of fun. Just to run us through the map pool quickly, just so people are aware. For this stage, we are looking at starting on Busan as our control map. Then we're going to be moving into Blizzard World or Numbani as the hybrid options. We then have Rialto or Havana as our escort. And of course, we've removed 2CP. If you haven't learned that already, now you know we've removed 2CP. So whoever loses will pick between hybrid or escort, and it will be the map that hasn't been run yet out of those two. And then finally, if we need it, we can go to Ilios for control. And dare I say, if we need a tiebreaker, Li Zhang is available for us.
Yeah, unlikely to get there. Looking at the previous matches through the season, most people have been winning, those first few maps out. So we're not really managed to get there yet, but it could happen tonight. We can never write it off. And of course, we could not make them play 2CP after everyone's been hustling in that beta and then just drop that back on them. I think that'd be a bit rough.
Oh, absolutely right. Yeah, and I think everyone is very done with 2CP, so we may as well just move on. But we got our first matchup pretty much ready to go here. So let's go and have a look at the team. Starting with Swinburne White, we have on tank Spin Pie, and then following up, they seem to like the old Reinhardt, the Winston, sorry, there, which is always a good wee starting hero. And then of course, following them up is Pingu on the off tank, opting for a little bit of Diva. We then have Juicebox Dude on the hit scan, and apparently I've heard their Bastion is very scary. So if you run into that, watch out. Bongo coming through on the flex DPS is Genji, which once again a Genji diving through that can be scary. So it looks like they really like this dive playstyle.
Mm.
Phalanx on the brig, and then finally Polarity V as that Baptiste. Swinburne, just so people are aware, they're the esports club team of Swinburne, sorry, of Swinburne University's esports club team. So that's really exciting having a university team coming through here. And the main part of their team has been playing together casually since AOE Ascent last season. So it's going to be very exciting to watch this team go through and verse Leyline Dragons.
Yeah, interesting that they really like those kind of dive heroes there. A lot of movement. That's obviously going to transfer really well, especially if they do pull out that Bastion and we see some of that. That'll be a good fun to look at. Let's look at Dragons real quick. Looking like they have quite a similar idea with a lot of dive going on. We open up with Volpe there with the preference for the Wrecking Ball and that main tank, and then we move on to Hoovy Hoov, but they also go by Skylar, so I'm not sure what we'll see in game, but look out for that. Zarya is their pick for that off-tank role. Then we move on to Soggy, and also they may be called Salsa. We'll look for that name there. Hit scan, but they also bring out that Genji, and apparently quite good at it too, so we may see some Genji on Genji action, which would be really interesting to watch. Mystery brings up the flex DPS there as well, and nothing to scoff at. I've played a lot of games with Mystery recently, actually, myself, and really good talent there. Fairy Bread bringing up the main support. They are on that Mercy and have 1,000+ hours, so that really shows in the skill department. So that'll be one to watch out. That damage boost onto the Genji will be particularly good, and obviously Pharmacy, which is just solid all around. And then Kira there on the flex support, Ana bringing up that healing for the actual tanks, since the Mercy will be pretty much tied to DPS player the whole match. So really good, strong, solid lineup again. A lot of movement on both of these teams here.
Yeah, I think one thing that could be interesting to see is these Genjis going head to head, Salsa versus Bongo. That could be quite a fun head to head clash. And well, it'll be interesting to see if Mystery is going to run that Pharah. Will Juicebox Dude run the Bastion to really burn them out of the sky? It's exciting to see how these two teams they sort of contest each other's hero pool. So potentially you might see a lot of off picks to what their favorite characters are. But I'm just excited to see what happens in this match. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, so it's like you say though, that they always show their favorite character up there, but we don't always see that come to fruition. Of course, you can't just put Bash in there and expect him to pop Bash in the whole game. But of course, like you say, they still could pull out some strong hit scan, which again, like you were mentioning, Mystery will have to be watching out for if they do pull the Pharah out, and that will put a bit of pressure onto them, and the Mercy will be really locked on to the Pharah the whole time then. So it's interesting. These two teams do kind of do some push and pull here. So we'll see how that kind of goes out, and who's more flexible maybe will end up being what's important, since they'll be able to adapt to the other side and really find those cracks.
Speaking of adapt, Volpe on the Wrecking Ball, adaptive shields are available for them. How do you think? I'm very interested to see, I guess, how this Wrecking Ball Zarya versus Winston Diva goes, because I mean, Wrecking Ball is that dive hero. If they both run it, there's kind of this pseudo dive, but Zarya's got the bubbles to try and protect from the dive. If we're seeing what we're seeing run here, these tanks could very well also be quite head to head. Wrecking Ball will be in the back line. Meanwhile, Zarya will probably be protecting the Mercy, the Ana, the Pharah, the Genji. So I really want to see that come through from Volpe and Skylar, and see how Spinpai and Pingu try to combat that.
Exactly. Diving into their backline and managing to secure the kill on the support first is probably going to turn the tides of most of those team fights in the occasion. And then again, that puts a lot of pressure onto the Peel tank to really try and keep that team up. That'll be like Zarya Diva, who's really going to handle that better, So again, like you're saying, lots of push-pull, equal teams as well, like I mentioned earlier. So these guys should be pretty neck and neck. So it'll be quite interesting to see them here as we move into Busan. The teams look like they're ready to go.
And Busan is such a classic mech. We're starting off on the Shrine here. Busan's really fun because there's so many different playstyles you can run per map. And if we're looking at Shrine here, you see a few different. You do see the poke sort of playstyles with the Sigma, but you do also see a lot of dive come through. So we might see those Winstons come out. We do see Volpe straight away going onto the Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball and Hoofy Hoof now on Diva rather than Zarya here. So we've got dive both sides. Pingu gonna run that Sigma for a little bit of poke. This is a very messy looking comp. There's gonna be fire happening everywhere, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Pingu now going for Zarya to run that double bubble. So the dives from Spinpai are going to be strong, considering they have the bubble for protection, and then they can put down their own bubble to keep them alive. We'll see how these teams go head to head.
Yeah, Dragons with a lot of poke power, with the lower damage but much quicker DPS line. The Sleep Dart, beautiful to really put some pressure on. They managed to get out of it, and Volpe is unfortunately the first to fall out of that fight. So Dragons on the back foot to begin with, and now the dive is where they can really start to take out that backline, make it a little bit more damage. We see the separation of the Zen, so they will fall as well, but they managed to trade it out with the orb in the air, so that's a pretty good trade for them. But they have lost a lot of space here, and that means that Swinburne could get on that point and just get the cap early.
Now, that's a really good first fight for Swinburne, but they have to stay alive, Dragons are still here putting on the pressure, so Pingu now getting aggressive could be what helps them win this fight.
Trying to just end this fight here, but it seems like it's just going to continue, and Dragons unfortunately will lose a lot of time because of that.
Yeah, and that's perfect for the side of Swinburne. You know, Swinburne wanted to just get those couple of picks to slow down this fight from Dragons, and now Dragons are going to have to group together. Tech Visor coming out.
Early as well into the match, one of the first ults to pop. Doesn't have a lot of value, but it does zone Dragons out. They are timing it quite well, though, as they move in to try and find an opening now. But they've kind of dived, staggered a little bit, and it hasn't gone well for Hoovy, who does lose the mech. Pulse Bomb doesn't land on the target that they would have liked, and the Minefield hasn't had much effect either, so these ults really going to waste.
Yeah, unfortunate ultimate usages from Soggy and from Volpe there led to Pingu taking Volpe out. You need to get those ultimates positioned a lot better, because now look at this aggressive dive coming through. Swinburne are loving their position right now. They don't even need a full team wipe to just slow down this push. They're at 65% so far clocked through. They've got Death Blossom, they've got Primal Rage to only really be countered by a Transcendence. So it's all going to come down to Keotix here.
Yeah, Dragons have been having a hard time disengaging. They drag out those fights a little bit too long, I think. And it's causing them to lose a lot of time. And you can see the dive from Swinburne allowing them to just get those stragglers who don't make it out quick enough. Although, a good dive into the back from Volpe. They managed to get rid of Polarity. And so, this should reduce the healing a lot for Swin. If this Stevie Bomb lands, and it does take out a major tank, this is their chance to get onto the point. Even with the rally, they've got some healing, but Bongo uses the ult, not quite connecting either, so Swinburne haven't quite landed the hits they need to. This is the chance for Dragons to make their mark on the point, but they're not finding enough kills right now to really solidify it as we sit in this overtime. They cannot afford to lose the fight, but somehow Swinburne is coming back with the damage and really making their mark. The hack is out, but is it just a little too late? Final little touch there from Volpe to manage to get on, but there's just not much coming out of it, and a solid first map here for Swinburne.
So far, it seems like Swinburne knows how to execute these dives really well. They've got what looks like really good communication. You know, they call out the targets that are low and jump them, and they know the correct targets to do that focus fire on. I mean, in that last fight, we saw the way that Swinburne won it was they dived onto Fairy Bread, they dived onto Keotix there, and it led to them falling. And because of that, yeah, no healing left for Dragons. Dragons just get wiped one by one. So really good communication coming through for Swinburne, and that's what I expect to see out of a university team, let's be honest.
Completely. It's interesting that Mystery hasn't opted to bring the Pharaoh. I guess Juicebox, they feel, might be quite oppressive on that single hit scan, but normally one hit scan wouldn't be enough. I mean, Soggy, though, really setting this match in play here with a nice early kill. This gives them so much space to work with. They need to make sure that they keep together, though, to find another, and Soggy follows up well with a second kill. Both the, one of the supports now gone, sorry, is a huge detriment to Swin when they just have to back up. Soggy is going off, as well as Volpe getting in there amongst it as well, but someone needs to get on that point and start racking up some percent.
Yeah, Soggy is really good at this echo we can see so far. A really good first pick onto Juicebox meant that they were able to pretty much dominantly win that fight. They finally capture, but they're just harassing and spawned right now. Volpe finally taken out. Swinburne may be able to get aggressive here. Let's see what they do.
Oh man, I was going to compliment Volpe for being nice and aggressive and finding that kill, but it ended up getting them kills. So there is a slight opening here, although Swinburne hasn't really been able to make it work there, and losing that early pick on the Zarya there means that they lose that off tank. They haven't got the barrier. The Clone Reaper comes in and just gets right in their face. Doesn't find the kill, but does manage to do enough damage that they are able to clean up the team.
Oh man, if I can compliment one thing coming out from Soggy right now, it's their knowledge on how to use Focusing Beam. They're so good at it, making sure that, you know, they get the target picked off with that Focusing Beam. Tech Visor now coming out by Juicebox, trying to win this fight. Oh!
Okay, they commit the Reaper ult too, which does have the value. That means the Visor, unfortunately, didn't get much of what they really wanted. Not well coordinated on the DPS ults. They probably could have communicated that a little better.
Yeah, 2 DPS ults thrown out for almost seemingly no reason. That second Death Blossom, it did win them the point, obviously, but that means they lost the Tech Visor. They could have just committed with it. Now this high ground positioning could be huge, but the response coming out by Dragons is going to shut them down.
They were strong on the defensive before. Maybe that's what they wanted, just to get themselves on this objective, and then they know they can play defensive rather than trying to play on the offense where they were struggling a bit more. Sdogga has found great value taking out the monkey there. That laser beam is just pumping out the damage. The rest of the team stayed on the objective. A good hack with a beautifully placed Diva bomb. The fine 3 that definitely nets them this objective. Unless Bongo has something to say about it.
Oh my gosh, the nano onto Hoovy Hoof as well, just to ensure they win that point. You know, it was a beautiful combo. EMP bomb, but then using the nano as well when there's only 2 people left, that does get a little bit scary now for the side of Dragons, because they've got 4, nearly 5, dare I say nearly 6 ultimates coming online for the side of Swinburne. So Sdogga is going to have to put in a lot of work with this duplicate coming up, and hopefully they get a few early picks before these ultimates get used. It's going to be interesting to see how Dragons try to respond to 6 ults on the field.
Well, like I say, they need to shut this down before it can get going, and Mystery's absolutely on board with that idea. Sdogga as well. They found a couple, but Bongo replies with a triple kill there. Beautifully positioned. The nano on them gives them all the sustain they need, and now Sdogga on their way out the door to trying to apply just a little bit of damage, get the aerial jump to just keep the harass on. You don't see this very often, the monkey trying to just counter play an echo. It's kind of working though as they send them off the side. Juicebox has to commit the visor as well to confirm this. They do find the one. Bongo's still putting that damage out, and even with the minefield on the objective, they're not too phased by it. They know they're in overtime now, so they have to commit a lot, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
Wow, they're managing to get this flip here as well. Incredible ultimate usage. I was actually really worried for Swinburne there. I didn't think they were going to be able to get that cap there, but then this tactical visor came through, and I think because of Spempai's Primal Rage just stalling it out long enough for the rest of Swinburne to get back, they managed to confirm these picks. So really good to see. It looked a bit stressful even with Bongo's 3K, but they managed to pull it through.
Dragons looking really tight now. I'm liking this a lot better than that first map. They got to come in again and do that damage. And there it is to start it off. Taking out Juicebox, so the damage reduction that they have to deal with now is much better. They got to get on this objective. All they need is the one. Rally to come up, though, for Swinburne. So they have a lot of sustain, heaps of health. You see Volpe just eating it up, though, with a great use of the shield. Bongo finds the one pick they really need. Is without the Ana, a lot of healing is gone for Dragons. Now they have to be careful, especially with double shotguns, and they have to play into the face of that Dragons. Another ult from Bongo is just really finding those ults every 2 seconds. Mystery unluckily won't come out of that res very well. Fairy with a great little touch to keep the timer going, but it's a absolutely brutal scene as they get destroyed on the point. And again, this overtime will fade away. A great performance from Swinburne.
Swinburne really sort of said, hey, look, we didn't use our ults great that first time. And then Bongo was like, okay, let me execute my ults to a T. The 3K Death Blossom and then that second Death Blossom just to try and pump out some damage worked out perfectly. But also, both of their DPS players are really good, just mechanically able to find the picks that they need to be able to confirm these fights. And so really huge props to Juicebox Dude and Bongo for really being able to clean up the Dragons right there. I mean, Swinburne are looking really good at the moment. They seem to communicate well. They use their ultimates mostly properly. Meanwhile, Dragons, I think they looked a little bit messier on the first point and then came back on the second point, especially like Volpe, Sdogga. They really found themselves there. So I think as we move into the second map, we're going to see the Dragons come together even better.
I totally agree. I think that they found their footing a bit better there in that second point. So looking forward to what they bring in this next map. But yeah, like you say, extremely good performance from Swinburne, and they had such great ult use, of course, which really made the difference for them. I think Dragons struggled in a few of their ults to make them work, except obviously that great combo with the hack and the Diva Bomb. That was amazing. Looks like teams are picking Blizzard World to move into for our next map.
Blizzard World is an interesting one. You know, you got Blizzard World and Nimbani. I would always pick Blizzard World over Nimbani. But It does sort of force a few different comps, you know. You got to have likely we're going to be seeing a bit of a maybe poke defense and then a dive offense, because you can set up that double shield up on the high ground. You can play that sort of Sigma Orisa play style here. Meanwhile, to push through, it's really quite hard to push through with the Reinhardt Zarya unless you've got a good Lucio that can speed boost you through. You try and take that sort of left pathing and get straight onto points. So I expect to see quite a bit more dive once again, maybe more Wrecking Ball, more Winston, the
Mm.
Diva, the Zarya. That's what I'm expecting to kind of see come out on Blizzard World. There's a few paths you can take, especially going into the right room. You can kind of wrap all the way around like you're coming from the defensive spawn and rush point. It's going to be interesting to see how they take these pushes, but I think we're going to be seeing a bit of what we've seen already.
Yeah, I think a critical thing will be if Bongo plays into that Reaper again, just closing that gap. Obviously, on a map like this, which is a bit better with the sight lines, is a little harder when you got that close range play. So, and speaking of, they adjust accordingly.
Yeah, there it is. Bongo on the Genji, Juicebox back on the Soldier here. So we are seeing the double shield defense, the Orisa Sigma, which is going to make it very difficult for this push coming through for the Dragons. I think Hoovy Hoof is going to have their work cut out for them, absorbing a lot of damage with that defense matrix. Meanwhile, I think if Chaotix can land a really good anti-nade, we could see Volpe and whatnot run over them, especially if Soggy can get a good dash through, get a couple of picks on the anti-nade. That might work out. So I think that's what they're going to run for. And obviously the classic build up Nano Blade, just win the game with Nano Blade. Looks like they're opting to push up this right side, up the staircase. We'll see how it works out for the Dragons.
They want to get up close, and I like it. Don't let them control this high ground. They'll rotate around. That halt puts a little bit of pressure on, and now they're in a much more ideal position, and it pushes them off that high ground. Now they have the control, which is exactly what they want. They got a second. They've actually caught the Sigma out here. This is not great for Pingu, who gets taken out, and they find themselves in advantage here, and they're not going to waste a single second of it. Straight down onto the subjective. The wall goes up to prevent any escapers. Close range swings from Volpe really puts the damage on. You see the impact from that as the Mercy falls. They find Senpai as well. And man, it is a brutal push on, and a quick one at that.
They really showed us how if you just rush through the double shield and ignore the shields entirely, you can run them over. Unfortunate for Pingu, it didn't seem like they got the memo that everyone's going to point, and I think that's what won them that fight here. Now they are going to keep getting aggressive into spawn and try and make as much space as possible, which I like to see. Fortunately for Bongo, they did get away. Bongo's got the blade. We'll see whether they can win a fight with it, but with Mystery chasing them down on the mate, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, they really know the threats, and they got to be careful of them. The trade kill there both ways, but Dragons maintaining as much space as they need right here. They know they have to be a little careful. Mystery does get caught out a bit too deep, and the blade will be committed both ways, but the nano is on Dragon's side as well. So can the value be found? There is a little bit more. Bongo finds only the one before they fall. So both Genji's blade, both Genji's die.
Yeah, it did seem like that nano was the difference maker there, though, for that fight. Having the honor to nano a Genji blade brings so much damage and so much more resistance. Shatter going out just to confirm these last few kills.
The wall attempt to block off Juice's visor from the high ground just puts them higher into the sky, unfortunately, but they do still only get the one, while Volpe's done all the work they need to right at the ground here. Diva Bomb goes off without any impact, unfortunately for them, but they've got so much time and they've pushed it really far already.
Flux finishing off Fairy Bread. This should now be a good defense for the side of Swinburne. They got what they needed after a few ultimates that didn't really land onto anything. The Tech Visor got responded to with a sound barrier from Fairy Bread, and it worked really well for the Dragons. But you're right, the Dragons have made a decent amount of space, and with 3 minutes 40 seconds, they should be able to pretty aggressively push on to this team of Swinburne here. They just need to use their aggression and land this Blizzard really well. The only thing that can shut down the Blizzard currently is an Immortality and a Sigma Absorption. Blizzard on the high ground.
Yeah, this positioning of the Blizzard quite unique. It does well to split the team. You can see Swinburne very all over the place here. Dragon's looking a little more well positioned as they drop them down into the cart. They have both tanks. The Mercy's forced to play right close, and Mystery capitalizes on that spacing well. Another Nano Blade coming in. Well, Soggy didn't have the blade, sorry, so it's just the Nano, but they find the damage nonetheless. Wall blocks off the Noon! That is fantastic impact. They have to use the window now. They know that's pretty much all they've got remaining. Polarity's doing everything they can to stall, but they just haven't got enough in the tank. And it's amazing little push here. That wall was amazing.
Yeah, that wall almost essentially won that whole fight, shut down the Deadeye there, and just led to kill after kill. And you're right, they used Nano into Genji, but it wasn't a blade. You're right, it was an absolute no blade. You know, still a Nano blade, just a little bit different. And Soggy managed to work with it. Now they've got the blade available for them right now, and they can use it aggressively if they want. They just need to take out the immortality from Polarity and then get the kills here. And with Fairy Breed taking out Bongo, that will change the game.
Especially with Volpe having that shadow right here. You can just see they're itching to hit that Q. The barrier's gone up, so they go to jump through it. Try to commit the ult through the shield, but ends up getting taken out before they even hit the ground. And SWIN know they've got to push in here. They've got the space. They've got rid of that shield, so they find Mystery. And you see Dragons, they know they had to back there.
It would have been a pretty shatter.
Oh man, that would have.
Beautiful shatter if it worked, but unfortunately, there was a Reaper right underneath you, tickling your toes away, and that led to a Volpe's demise, unfortunately. And they did press the shatter button as well, so that means they don't have it. Out comes the blade.
With the Nano attached again as well, so really doing well on the Ana. Triple kill once again from the D.Va bomb. Soggy finds the one they needed. The bomb did all the work in the end.
Man, these D.Va bombs have been beautiful, and poor Juicebox just getting chased down by the whole of Dragons there. Huge bombs, and everyone was trying to run away from the Nano Blade, so they got caught out by the bomb. Aggression now coming through by Dragons.
Another window goes up for Swinburne, and they use the Fire Strike through it. Nice. The Noon. Bongo commits the ult as well. Both of these DPS just hitting Q at the same time far too often. I think that they could get a little bit more value out of it. They have found all the kills they need, but they did end up having used both ults.
Yeah, a few ults got used in that fight. There was early amplification matrix, you know, the Valkyrie came out, so it's not looking so good in the ultimate department for Swinburne right now. Meanwhile, we got a sound barrier. Fairy Break could use it to get aggressive. Mystery's got that Blizzard. If they get a good placement, that could freeze up the team and win a fight. So, yeah, Dragons are looking so much more solid right now. We'll see if they can push through the last chapter of Blizzard World.
They've got the Blizzard, they've got the Shadow. Volpe will be eager again, drops the hammer, finding themselves taken out once again, but the other Ryan is gone as well, so Hoovie's opened up. Great use of the Blizzard there. This sound barrier just lets them keep up that aggression. Another wall to just say no to the Noon. Soggy's ended up on the wrong side of it, but it doesn't matter, they clean up the cart nonetheless.
Man, that was really good ultimate combos coming through by Dragons. They managed to use the ultimates that would work well together rather than just using both DPS ultimates, for example. So really cool to see, you know, the Shatter Blizzard, everyone's thrown to the ground so they can't get out of the Blizzard, they can't run away, they can't throw Immortality out. Things like the Nano Blade, it's a classic, everyone loves it, and there's a reason it works so well. Even just Blade and bomb. Everyone runs away from the blade into the position of the bomb. It's smart thinking, these ultimate combos that are coming out from the Dragons here. And I hope we can see that coming through on the side of Swinburne. Swinburne absolutely need to use their ultimates just a little bit better. They've obviously got the mechanical skill. That's how they're getting back in these fights. But they need to be able to rotate these ultimates better to make sure that they don't get run over as quickly.
Yeah, I mean, man, Dragon's speed sometimes is really menacing. You just see that
Mm.
Lucio, well, Fairy on the Lucio was just really, really intense in terms of they'd find the single kill, and next thing you know, they're amongst the whole team. So they really did use that speed well as a team. I see they're opted now to get rid of it, but you don't really need that on the defense. So the Brig will make a huge difference. Not playing that Mercy, interestingly.
Yeah, now we're seeing Fairy Bread on Brig, which removes that speed you were just talking about. They obviously don't need it to run over. They kind of just want to win these brawl fights more aggressively. So we'll see whether Brig is going to bring in the same amount of value. I think it will, but it's just interesting to see. We do see Swinburne immediately find Mystery. Mystery does manage to get away and gets protected by Hoovy.
Yeah, except the rest of the team go in to try and help Mystery, who seem to get away on their own, and this might have cost them their tank line. Sdogga gets picked up in a bad spot, and this is looking really dire for Dragons now. Man, that little misplay might have cost them big. Great remake onto Polarity there, so some healing reduced, but they got to deal with the whole rest of the team. Volpe manages to get back in with the Wrecking Ball, but there's just so many bodies from Swinburne here on the point that it's really quite menacing to deal with, and this should just mean they take the point easily.
Yeah, I almost feel like there wasn't a reason to go and save Mystery there. Mystery was able to get away. Maybe just Hoovy to come through for the defense matrix, but Volpe didn't need to be there as well. And losing Volpe early was devastating. So Mystery should have been able to get out of that pretty safely, and then you know where the side of Swinburne is, and you can just make sure they don't get out of there alive. Essentially, you can hold that point. So we'll see how they go now on this defense. They're able to group up, get a little bit aggressive onto the tanks, and hopefully they can get a couple of hits.
Yeah, Bongo had a great little pulse bomb there to take out Polarity there, but take out Dragon's armor there. But it looks like they haven't made much ground out of it. Still trying to push that card along. The fight is still to the high ground. Diva Bomb goes high from the clone, but unfortunately no impact for them. Very scrappy battles here. We do get another reverse Diva Bomb. This one slightly better position. Their third Diva Bomb in the mix as well. Finds one as well. So anyone else got a Diva Bomb to throw out?
I might have one hiding away in a pocket somewhere, and the bombs are certainly working out, at least for the staggering defense. And now with the minefield, Volpe can get aggressive, but Juicebox is scary on this Echo. We've been seeing some really good Echoes come through just to confirm these fights, and because of it, it's still quite a messy back and forth for both teams.
Yeah, these comps are just quite scrappy. You know, Mystery in the back, Bongo's in the back, the front line is all divey. It's just whichever team can manage to keep themselves a little bit more structured will find the difference. Juice with a good one on the Soggy. Now they're just back at this cart trying to stall. They got to be careful. Spenpie there behind them with the electricity is just really putting that nice slow damage out, and the whole team is being put onto the back foot. They lose the Lucio. There's their support line going, and the cart should roll in pretty smoothly here. Mystery with a little bit of time to delay there, but it does cost them.
What happened there was Swinburne were running really well, diving together, you know. Juicebox got on the high ground, got that first pick, and then it seemed like Spenpie, Pingu, and Bongo all just kind of dived together. They got the picks. Meanwhile, all of LEY Dragons were just split up there, and so it just meant that one after another, it was an easy kill. They just needed to dive one target after another. So if they keep that up, this should be an easy one. Huge EMP though!
Massive, followed up with the Noon. It managed to clip around the corner for the one. They still have that nano damage as well, although they haven't quite been able to connect with what they would have. Good little sleep dart there onto Spenpie. Barrier did get up in the end, and the Diva Bomb drops into that backline once again. Should just find the one. It does. The remake won't have much, and they do have the sound barrier here to try to give a bit of healing to Dragons, but again, being pushed right into that backline, they get spread a bit thin. They got to be careful about positioning. Diva backline doesn't actually connect because they have the room to hide in Dragons and the shielding, so they've come out on top of this. They should be able to push back some space in the bit of this fight as Volpe looks to hold that front line.
Polarity's actually running really well on this Ana. Now with their nano onto Tracy here, and her tech visor coming out. So many ults coming through for Swinburne. There we go. Sorry, my brain turned off for a few seconds. I'm back.
Pause, champ. All right, here we go.
Really good aggression.
Bongo's still keeping it up. They're just doing really well to just constantly apply their pressure, though. You know, Dragons are struggling when they lose that one pick, and then they're really having a hard time getting back on their feet. And you can see by the constant movement of the cart, Volpe should be able to get here just in time, unless they're put to sleep. It's too tight, and they don't quite make it.
Oh man, Swinburne absolutely just looking really good on that offensive push there. Their dives were coming through very well. You can see how they communicate by watching them play. They exactly at the start of the game, they saw Mystery stuck off to the left side, and they all went for Mystery, which led to them actually finding Volpe and getting that first kill and unlocking that fight. And they're just so good at this consistent, you know, communicating, pushing together, getting that 1 or 2 targets. It was very impressive to see that dive come through.
Yeah, that early part of the match was a bit of a misplay on Dragon's part. I think that, like you said earlier, they committed a little too hard to the defensive safe, you know, coming for the rescue, and it cost them. And then for the rest of Streets, they just, I don't know, they just kind of struggled to find their footing and really get the cart stopped. Most of the fights just dragged out when someone was taken out, and then the rest of the team half kind of backed out, half trying to keep the fight going, and there really wasn't like a line to be drawn where, okay, the battle's ended, let's regroup kind of deal, you know?
Yeah, absolutely right. It seemed like they needed to just call a regroup, call a let's just group up, push together. But I think that's part of that comp that they were running, you know. It is a very everyone everywhere just trying to find that one pick, and unfortunately because of that, when the whole team's diving that one player that's off on their own, it is going to lead to them falling down. Now, Bongo on this Pharah is purely just going to be trying to lead in damage. Meanwhile, an exact same push coming out by Dragons. This time, it looks like they're going to try go all the way behind them, coming in from the defensive spawn side.
This is smart. It's like a chess match, you know. Swinburne knew that they couldn't hold high ground because Dragons pushed it last time. They tried something different, and Dragons have something else on the table to hand out. Get themselves on the objective. They got to be careful about that Bastion setup, which is absolutely devastating. You see, once that starts going, it's pretty nice. The wall comes up, but they just end up getting above it. And there's just been a few too many kills back and forth. Dragons haven't quite got the grounding they needed.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. It was just purely the great rotation coming through by Juicebox, getting to that next position to just burn down point. Really smart rotation for Juicebox. Meanwhile, Pingu was a menace on point. The Reinhardt was swinging. A few seconds left. Can anyone even touch? Keotix just gets on.
Man, that pin almost, I thought it might have won it for them. Down goes the hammer, though, onto Mystery, and they're cleaned up with a swing. That little ult might have just made all the difference, though. There's this overtime plays. The Genji's all that remained, and they've cleaned up the field here.
Man, such a change. I mean, once again, Dragons are looking better once again. They've managed to up themselves from the first map, especially their first push was looking incredible, but Swinburne's won up themselves as well. It's really impressive to see. I mean, Swinburne didn't look so hot on the defense before, and then they changed up the comp. I mean, they brought out that Bastion, and as they said, Juicebox dude is scary on the Bastion. Can now confirm that. Juicebox knew the rotations, knew the positioning, really smart, and absolutely that just led to their victory. But it's really cool to see that they are able to swap it up. They're able to change it and look really solid when it looked like that was going to be, at first, it looked like it was going to be Dragon's game to win.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when they, you know, adapted to the rotation there. And I kind of thought, oh, are they still going to play the same and then just drop down normal? But they said, nah, we're going to roll around behind, you know, counterplay the counterplay. So I thought, yeah, they might have it. But I guess they just didn't find those picks. I do like this offense here with Bongo on the Widow. Finding that single pick could win them the point. So I absolutely understand it.
Yeah, if they can get one pick early, especially now that Mystery, they don't know it, but Mystery's on Pharah. They got the pharmacy. If they can take out Fairy Bread, take out Mystery, this could very easily unlock a map win. They only need one tick, and so Bongo is going to be searching, hooks up, doesn't find anything.
Yeah, Mystery's playing a unique position there off to the side. Probably knows that they can't afford to be too aggressive. Got to be quite careful. They've got the Echo to deal with as well, which has a pocket of their own. There's Bongo with the connection as we expected, and Fairies try to hightail it out of there, but they're a person down now, and that makes this defense a lot harder. We look to see as they move both sides of this attack and makes the shielding a lot more difficult, especially with the double shield setup. They're going to be able to rotate around, and the high mobility from Juicebox allows them to get that high ground. This is looking like a bad spot for Dragons. They do manage to get rid of a healer early, which is really good momentum for them. Can they keep this going? Failed pin from Pingo means that Mystery can find the connection. Bongo has managed to get rid of one of the tanks, but still there's a lot of bodies on that objective, and so I think Dragons might just have this in their hands still.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Soggy was on a little slight quote-unquote flank thing all the way down the back of point there, and it led to them being able to take out Kyoto, Polarity even. And Polarity being removed from that fight means there's really no healing for the side of Swinburne, because the Mercy is going to be on Juicebox. They do have sights now. They're able to see where all of Dragons are hiding, and we'll see whether the sites give them enough information to push aggressively.
Yeah, man, Dragons are looking so much tighter. Look at these rotations from them, and they're really making great use of the shield. Pingu wants to break through it, finds the pin connection, but Immortality comes up, and then they are found instead. That's great counterplay from the support line there. Up comes the window both ways. This is all about angles here. Noon to look for the breakthrough, but doesn't quite find the line of sight. They clone out the Pharah here. Juicebox is going to look to make some big impacts with those rockets. This high ground, though, still being played by Soggy well. Soggy really has been making a huge difference here with that hit scan. And Volpe coming in clutch there as well.
Oh, man, that charge from Pingu cost them a little bit. Pingu went into the whole team with no team to back them up, and so they just fell instantly. Pingu is back now, though, with the shatter from behind. Can they get the kills?
It was a great shatter, but they just had no one else to back them up.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate ultimate loss as well, especially when Mysteries on Pharah has the Rocket Barrage, Hoof has the Flux, the Gravitic Flux now, and there's now a Reaper, there's a Hanzo, all these ultimate percentages that are lost or got used and to no avail. This is really kind of the desperation swaps coming out by Swinburne to really see what they can do here. Hopefully they find something to break through this defense.
Spinpie's Diva ult's going to have to be the biggest thing. That's a great Sigma ult. The Justice from the Sky from Mystery. That Diva ult doesn't have the impact. They do come in with the Noon, heavy-handed. Dragons looking very solid here. This is the team we wanted to see all night long, and they managed to hold this overtime, not even a tick given.
And that brings us our first draw of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, they really perfected the defense there, I think. They really showed us how you defend. I'm interested to see what the thought process was to not just continue running their really solid dive. Swinburne, obviously, they were so good at that dive on the first point. They didn't opt to bring it this time. I wonder what the call was there, whether they just felt they could take the Reinhardt fight a little bit more or not. I'm not too sure, but definitely I feel like they had such a good dive that they could have brought that through and broken the Dragons apart. But also, I feel like the Dragons were playing together a whole lot better. They never really were alone. So that could be the reason why dives and pushes never really seem to work out. So I like that the Dragons are adapting. I like that Swinburne is also adapting, and these teams are really learning each other's play styles and countering it to bring us things like this draw that we saw. And I also really want to compliment, I believe it was Hoovy Hoof on the Orisa. No, it was it was Volpe on the Orisa. Hoovy Hoof was the Sigma. When Sigma fluxed, Volpe decided to do a pull and pulled the whole team into the flux. So sure, the kills didn't come through, but every single player losing half your health leads to quicker kills from a Deadeye, leads to quicker kills from a Rocket Barrage. So it just made it easier for the DPS to confirm those kills. Very impressive plays by Leyline Dragons to confirm the defense, and it wasn't a win, but you've got to feel happy about that draw because it was looking very scary for them.
Oh, I feel bad for them that was all only a draw. They worked so hard at the end there, and they look so tight too. That was like the best we've seen from the Dragons so far. They smashed that. And even after what looked like, oh yep, they were going to lose it, that Bongo got that Widow headshot straight off the bat onto Mystery, and it was like, oh, here we go. That's the kill that they needed. And then they just weren't able to find after that. Dragons managed to just clump up. They still 5v6 them and won the fight. I was so impressed. If they can bring that energy through to these next matches, I can see a huge comeback on their hands.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think if Dragons can really just hone in what they need to do, keep their ult rotations being really solid and good, keep their team together and tightly knitted like this, Dragons could be a formidable force to stop. Swinburne, of course, I think they just need to keep running that really well executed dive, make these call outs and push together really smartly. I think
Hmm.
I think if they can do that, they can break apart the Dragons, but it is just going to be have to be that constant, consistent defense. We'll see what happens, but really impressive from both sides so far.
Yeah, man, that was just awesome to watch. There was just so many good alt uses at the end there that and I'll give excellent props as well to Soggy, who really popped off on the cast at the end there with some great hit scan too. I think quite a few of those kills really set the tide of the match. So in particular, been keeping an eye on them. That was really good. Teams will be picking the maps shortly. Obviously, we go into Escort next. Rialto, Havana are the options, but we're currently missing a player, so it may just be a second. Um, I'm looking at the scoreline and thinking, well, yeah, these two teams are so equal in terms of talent that this is kind of to be expected, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Both these teams looking very even. And so, realistically, this is what we were sort of expecting coming through. Both teams running it so evenly, bringing us a really good match. And I wouldn't be surprised if this didn't go all the way. I think both teams have their equal strengths. And I think map picks are going to be really big on deciding who wins this. So, now that the next map picks between Rialto and Havana, and it sounds like we are going to be going to Havana here. I think this could be really good for Dragons. Volpe and Hoovy Hoof really showed us that they can run a Reinhardt sort of diva comp style very, very well. Havana, there is a little bit of opportunity for dive for Swinburne, but mostly I do think we're going to see Reinhardt, Diva, maybe some Sigma, maybe an Orisa. We could see a little bit of double shield to keep the defensive side strong, but it'll be interesting. Question for you, stranger. Do you
Mm.
think Juicebox will be Bastion?
Ooh, I don't know. I guess it is super comp dependent, isn't it? And it kind of depends what Dragons have been playing. They've already played it once, so they're not afraid to try it out. And I think that team are pretty confident in the Bastion pick. So we very well could see it. It's just whether they think that they need to commit to that. One thing I was going to say, I'd actually really like to see Bongo maybe pull out that Widow again. We saw it only for a moment there, but I mean, especially at the beginning of this map, Widow could be really strong, and they know that Mystery's great on the Pharaoh, Fairy's great on the on the on the Mystery, Fairy Bread's great on the Mercy, and so obviously Widow would be great counters to that. So that just really puts a bit of pressure onto two of their players who would have to play off their favorite character, So um, I don't know if we'll see it, but if we do, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I feel like they could Swinburne could bring in some kind of pseudo spawn camp where Juicebox sits on the bastion up on top of the wee little petrol
Mm.
balcony. Meanwhile, Bongo's on that long sight line starting to shoot down and take anybody who's coming out that right door. I feel like they could potentially do quite a good lockdown of first point if they want to play that up close and personal defense. Meanwhile, there's also a lot of different positionings that Juicebox could run if they're Bastion. Of course, Juicebox could play something completely different and shut down everything I'm saying, but I just really want to see the Bastion, if I'm being honest. On Havana, Bastion's quite fun to watch. It's quite a fun way to play on defense, at least. Of course, on attack, you just pirate ship, but on defense, it could be fun to see. But it does look like they opt for a little bit of an Ash. Having that long sight line, you can get some really good shots, especially first point and third point. The sight lines are pretty much free for all. Bongo on the Genji. Bongo's gonna be that classic, you know, get in, dive, slash through people. Meanwhile, on the side of Dragons, we're seeing what we saw in Blizzard World. Mystery back on the Mei, Soggy on that Cassidy, and then the Rhine Diva. It worked really well for them. If they can hone this down and perfect it, we could see some really good pushes coming through by Dragons.
Yeah, a lot of weight on Mystery, I think, here, because obviously Bongo's going to want to get in. If Mystery can really put the pressure on Bongo and make them kind of useless in the game, that'll be a lot of value for the team and take heaps of pressure off them as well.
Absolutely. I think one of the big things about Overwatch is how can you make it so that the game's not fun to play for the enemy team. Mei is one of those choices. A huge dynamite will slow down the aggression coming out from Volpe here, just hiding behind payload. Let's see who gets the first pick.
So far, they're making good space. Still, the defense is holding pretty solidly. No picks either way. Or as I say that, we lose the Mercy. Soggy putting that impact down. So now Dragons want to keep that momentum. They will find a couple more as well. So the pressure is truly on. Spenpire's caught in a bad spot. And Juice is just not going to be able to assist them with it. And so the feet running backwards. They keep this cart rolling. Mystery's got that on lock. And this first point will be theirs.
Soggy showed us why they're removing stun for Overwatch 2 just then. The stun onto Phalanx, sorry, immediately removing them. And look at this aggression, already holding up at that sort of spawn area. Gives them a full cap in one team fight. That's incredible to see. Sound barrier and amplification matrix just to try confirm these fight wins. Maybe not necessary, but it was really good Overwatch to see just then.
Oh, the shatter lands, but they are taken out before they can follow it up. The stun just ends Bongo's career in an instant. That blade, nowhere to be seen.
What just happened? Why did Bob go out? Why did the blade go out? What is happening in this game? Why did they feel the need to commit so many ults? Even on the side of Dragons, both teams just throwing out ults for the fun of it. The shatter from Volpe was so random. Now we've got the remix for Hoovy. They can get aggressive again. And the Deadeye will definitely start this fight good.
Soggy's consistency right now is really showing through. Dragons looking so much more aggressive. They cannot forget that objective though. And they lose a little bit of space, but they're so far up and they can hold this strong.
They're perfecting this comp now. I said that if they're able to do it, they'll be a formidable force. And they're showing us that they are that formidable force I thought we would see. But we do see SWIN pushing together well.
Volpe with the attempted read charge. Diva bombs up into the corner. The wall coming up, unfortunately, as well. There wasn't much going to come out of it either way. Window for SWIN, but they're not really able to make much use of it because they're just backed into that corridor. And you can just see the damage output from this high ground. The shatter falls for Spenpie, and that does manage to get them the DMAC, although Spenpie falls again. Man, even the supports are putting out damage here.
Yeah, I mean, this is looking like a very strong Dragons right now. They are so solidly playing together that every single part is working perfectly. Hopefully now, maybe Bongo and Juicebox might have a bit better defensive hold now with this longer sight line. I mean, third point is such a hard push on Havana here. It might be just as hard a push as the elections are in Australia right now. We'll see what happens, but let's see how they do. Dragons trying to push around this first corner.
And they've already gained so much speed here. SWIN need to be careful. This is their corner to hold. They've got some of the ults to make it happen too. Great use of the wall, but the Dragons will just absolutely tear through it. That's 5 on the board. Bongo's taking it. That's a great combo.
Bongo just swept up play of the game for themselves nice and neatly with the help of a great grab from Pingu there. And I mean, they also got Volpe to shatter. So not on top of them using 2 ults and getting the team kill, they also removed one of the ults for the side of Dragons. So that was the most successful Dragon strike you could have.
Oh, Mystery throwing it deep with the old freeze, and they managed to freeze one to find the pickup. The Noon only getting them 1, but this is basically half the team. They have left the cart here though. They got to be careful not to go too far ahead. They have found so many picks though. This is going to be really hard for Swinburne to even get to.
Man, that was just pure aggression. Bongo now back on the Widow. You finally see it coming out. Taking out Sdogga. That might open up this fight for Swinburne.
This is getting tight, down to the minute. Polarity has to play close. The Noon from above, but it doesn't connect. They really need those attacking ults to find lots of value, especially in moments like this. There's still 3 minutes on this clock for Dragons to push, so even if they lose this fight, it's not a big deal for them.
Man, they managed to get back just in the nick of time, and that's where having those close spawns are very valuable for the defensive hold here. But 3 minutes to hold this, and we've seen that Dragons can push through really well. However, now with Bongo up on the high ground with Polarity healing them, Bongo is just going to keep picking off heads one by one, so it is going to become very hard for this push. Volpe has the Shatter ready, they're going to be looking for it, but so does Spin5. So both Reinhardts are going to want to out-Reinhardt the other, and it'll be interesting to see who wins this fight.
Volpe already getting in with the mind games. You can see Spin5 trying to fake it out. Ends up getting the block, and it doesn't quite get blocked there for Spin5, who manages to clean through. The rest of the team looking to follow up on it. They found the one. There's another Noon, and this time it does connect. Although Hoovie's not done with it either. They do get taken, but they find themselves that kill on the support nonetheless. They've unfortunately not got any follow-up, though.
Yeah, that was a really good shatter from Spin5. Saw that Volpe was above them, so shattered underneath Volpe's feet and just completely clean sweeps that fight here. It led to a really good Deadeye and just easy kills here. Even though Spin5 didn't land the charge because Very Rare pooped them away, it didn't matter. The kills came through, so very, very good ultimate usage.
Window goes up for Swinburne. They eat that fire strike, so it doesn't get to have too much value coming through the window. Returning the favors back and forth, but Hoovie's unfortunately got picked up by that hook, and if Dragons are smart, they should just back up here without that extra tank.
And this is where Havana is so hard to push, because there's such a long sight line and such a big line of damage that you can just constantly take. I mean, especially when there's a Widow like Bongo, who are just looking for hits. That Deadeye, that's just mean. Oh.
That snuck, the wall came up and blocked it perfectly, but then they broke a hole in the wall and they managed to thread the needle through the gap. That was beautiful.
That's the kind of communication and skill you need. Like, break that wall, please, please. Now, Dragons getting aggressive. Can they win this fight?
The hook shuts down the Noon, which is absolutely amazing, but unfortunately, the rest of the side have cleaned up the field, so that Blizzard really coming in nicely. You just see how quickly they got on that side. 35 seconds here, but it's going to be hard to even reach the cart.
Because all of them got wiped out, they can come back in this full team fight, but they wall by Mystery, blocking them off. Spin5 now charging in. Can they win this fight?
The ult committed from Volpe, they haven't hit the ground yet, crosses the whole map, another shatter through, but the Mayfreeze actually ends up blocking most of it, so the team come out pretty alright on Dragon's side. Aerial bomb, this should have big impact, finds the one on the healer. Soggy's done great mechanical work on the objective, and Pingu's just looking to take out those picks left and right, but the freeze on them really puts the pressure down on zoning Noon to just make sure they hit it.
I kind of wish Swinburne won that defense purely for the fact of watching the whole hog launch the Reinhardt shatter to the other side of the map. Oh, that was beautiful to watch. That was very, very funny. But no, I mean that just came down to really good picks coming through by Dragons, and Dragons finally, it took them a couple of matches, but they're looking like a very strong team now. They're looking scary to play against, and if they can keep this coordination and grouping up, keeping together, playing it smart, they'll be able to stop even the dive prowess that comes through by Swinburne, and that's what you want to be able to do. You don't want to have someone caught off to the side and get picked off early, because it looks like Swinburne just thrive from that. No, I was gonna say, am I seeing what I'm seeing? But no, Juicebox immediately went to Widow, so I don't get the Bastion, unfortunately. Once again, they're switching it up. It seems like Swinburne, they've got a lot of heroes in their pool, and they're pretty confident playing whatever they want to play. But because of that, each time it does feel a little bit messy. It does feel like there's no coordination, you know? They're just doing a different thing each time, so it gets switched up each time. Meanwhile, Dragons are going to do that full hold. They want to play right at the front. Here they come, rushing in, going to clash head-to-head with Swinburne.
Good wall to split them up too, so this could be their chance if they can find the pick up on Pingu and them before they can get in, and that's exactly what they'll do. Those 2 picks are huge. It should buy them quite a bit of time here.
Now Juicebox wants to play the Bastion. If you're playing in my face, I'm gonna run you over like a tank, says Juicebox here. And so I think Bastion can work out well, but they're gonna have to find some really smart sight lines, and this defensive hold is gonna be hard to break apart.
I like the telly attempt here. This does give them great positioning. Look at Juice up in their high ground. Does get picked up nonetheless, but still, it was enough to make this fight messy for Dragons. They have to be careful. They've got to get a few more picks, and losing Volpe is not great for them to hold. They might have decided to back up a bit earlier, and they would have been all right, though. They still have a couple hanging around, but it's just the cleanup crew here. They got to be careful not to lose too much space from it.
Man, that was a smart TP onto the higher ground, just getting that positioning. Juicebox was able to burn them down. So that's a way you break apart that aggressive front door defense. Unfortunately, didn't work out as well as Dragons wanted. It burns a little bit off the clock and is going to give them at least 2 more defensive holds here. But there are some ults available. They could use it effectively if they want to.
Volpe is having such a night with the shatters. Doesn't quite even get to hit that one down. Noon from up above, but the barriers are in place perfectly. Diva Bomb now to come join the party as well, but also they managed to find all the cover they need for it. So I don't know. I think that they might be good on the attack here. Juice's output is absolutely huge. They do manage to take them out, but it's just basically every defensive bit committed to it. Dragons finding that flank line, though, get a lot of kills, and they've got it back in their hands here.
Yeah, they just managed to find each sort of single straggler from the side of Swinburne to pick them off one by one, and once Juicebox got taken out as well, there's so much damage removed, and when you got a Diva that can absorb the damage, that does let Fairy Bread, Volpe, Soggy just go up to the Bastion's face and take them out, and that's exactly what happened. So now Bastion's going to have to find a new place to set up, which is going to slow down this team fight for the side of Swinburne.
I like that they are eager to get aggressive on this, but they have to be careful of those flanks here. This could be a good ult. They do manage to pick up a couple. Juicebox has made really good use of this opening as Svenpai hits a great pin, which allows him to pick up Volpe with reduced shielding. Swinburne should be a lot stronger here in the push. Mystery gets wiped out of the fight, and now it's just the supports lingering to try and keep the stall going, but they're not going to last too long.
And there it is. That was a good flux coming through by Pingu, because Juicebox was in a nice cheeky position that when the flux came through, Juicebox could burn down the people who land on the ground. I almost wish I saw Juicebox up on the high ground so that when they get lifted up, they meet Bastion face to face. That would have been devastating to see, but nonetheless, it worked out really well. And now there are 5 ultimates for the side of Swinburne, and with that pick up the Soggy Nuts, they're not going to stop.
Svenpai coming in with the big shatter. The Dragons are committed. Out comes the Bastion ult. So they're throwing a lot at this one to try and get as much space as they possibly can.
Yeah, but it's back to that sort of tried and true thing that we've been seeing from Swinburne, where they throw as many ultimates out as possible to confirm the fight win, and maybe you didn't need to. Maybe you need some of those ultimates back to deal with the 5 ultimates that are coming through from Dragons right now. Volpe's going to get aggressive, and that Amp Matrix is scary.
Window is absolutely brutal. Out comes the Diva Bomb. The freeze is committed as well to get the one. Looks like they're doing all right, but they got to be careful about how they got split here. Babs left alone. So the car is halted, but the team has been really split in two. Mystery looking for a crucial pickup with that barrier will do a lot to keep the defense. And so this car can continue on. I don't know, Volpe, one-man army on the objective. They have the shatter to make it happen, though. There's Bongo gone. Oh, man, that shatter's just turned the tides here. If they're careful about the positioning against the Bastion, they do manage to pick that up, so they're good to go. Soggy playing a good character to just counter out that Bastion, and it looks like Dragons get themselves back on the point.
They picked up all 5 in their flux. Everyone was right on the edge, but once again, nobody there to follow up for Pingu, so the flux went to nothing. And now Dragons, they have such a dominant defensive hold here. They can play up close and personal. They don't need to worry about sort of the risk there. However, Volpe falls, and that might unlock this fight for Swinburne if they get aggressive.
Again, that's the second time we've seen a tank from Swinburne commit an ult that's absolutely amazing, but there's just no one to follow up, which is super unfortunate for them. This team has just torn through this point though, and I think that's them getting the objective. Dragons quite haven't pulled themselves together into a grouping there that made sense, so they've already accepted defeat on that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Dragons, they were just so split up and they were able to get picked off one by one. That's what Swinburne are good at. They find that one target, run them over. They've been doing it effectively every single time, and that is a good target to run over. Very removed early.
Oh, Dragons have to be super careful about these kind of picks. Good Dragon across the lane, which just puts Spempire into a less aggressive position, but Mystery's committing heavy, maybe too heavy, to the point they get taken out, and so this front line for Dragons is looking a bit rickety.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. The supports get taken out early, which just led to, even with the Dragon Strike coming out, it just led to such a split defense that they were able to run over one after another. Mystery swapped off now to the Sombra, just trying to disable some of the heroes on Swinburne, probably the Bastion mostly.
Interesting Dragon position from Bongo there, does get them the 1 kill, and so they're looking to just keep flowing on with the kills here. Dragons up in the higher ground, they have that window up, which is great, puts the pressure onto the cart. You see Immortality Field have to be commit, and the beat drop as well. Interesting use of the old Diva Bomb there, hits the wall. I don't know if they wanted to slide through. They do manage to find the pickup though with the remake onto a healer, which is a great pickup. Dragons, if they keep this going, they'll be all right, but they have to deal with a Bastion and 2 tanks, which is a lot of output. Mystery just keeping that cart from moving at all, but the rest of the team have not been able to survive. And so Volpe's going to have the one-man army it again. This time they have the Shatter again, but just not the health to sustain through it. Juice's positioning right now is absolutely key to make sure that they get this. This will be just way too hard to even get onto the objective.
Oh, Juicebox's positioning is brutal. If you try to touch the objective and there's a Bastion just sort of sitting behind you, you don't even get shattered because of your positioning there. So it's just so smart, such a smart place to stand. The defense hold is trying to come through right now as Keotix and Fairy tried to stall it out, but they managed to get pushed away. And that is a little bit faster time bank for the side of Swinburne. But once again, both teams looking so even, only 23 seconds in between it. And honestly now, I think if we do see that up close and personal defense by Dragons, they might be able to win it. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Swinburne change up their defense, because obviously their defense, when they lost that first fight, they lost the whole point. So you want to play a bit more better positionally to at least get 1 or 2 fights. I hope they can find a way to do it. And maybe Juicebox on this Bastion might be it.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like so neck and neck between these two sides. It's really a slog for every win. I do feel a little bad for Volpe, who's really been trying to get those shatters off, but just seems to get melted every single time they go for it. Yeah. So, I mean, we could probably make a compilation of just their deaths trying to get the shatter off. So, man, if they manage to just pull it a little bit tighter and get those going, I think that those key little ults will make a huge difference here in the attack.
One thing I want to really compliment from Dragons, though, is their support ultimate usage. I think that is one of the highlights of Dragons right now is, well, honestly, both sides, to be honest. Dragons and Swinburne, all their support ults have been huge. Phalanx's Valkyries have been critical, the sound barriers and the nanos, and even the amplification matrices have been huge. So if they keep it up, it'll be good. This hold from Swinburne is giving Dragons a lot of space early on, though.
Man, Dragons is playing this so beautifully. You just see them snaking along. Every barrier in the game possible. The wall comes up. They have to be careful about Juice's back door, but the sleep dart says we don't need to deal with that right now. Let's keep that front line strong. Although they let the Bastion get back and set up, but they've already rounded the corner, so Juice just hasn't been able to have the impact. And we can see in the kill feed how that's led to the rest of the side falling, and now Juice has to do it all alone, but gets put to bed again. I didn't even think robots could fall asleep.
Yeah, I guess you just turn off their activity chip or something. I don't know how robots work, but it worked out well for Oldana there. And now this attack, yeah, a really solid attack. I think that choice of position for defense once again did not work out because it just gave so much space. And now they can get aggressive. You know, we are seeing Dragons use the nano early, trying to just get aggressive and build even more space by getting a couple of picks, but they need the picks.
They didn't quite get the value out of that nano that they probably wanted. Good backing up from Swinburne there to get back in time, but now they've got Volpe on the wrong side of them, and Pingu maybe didn't realize that in time and gets picked up because of it. Spenpai there as well, trying to play Orisa super aggressive, but there's just not much of a team to back them. They do manage to pick up the Reinhardt, but with the rest of the team pretty well and clean, this cart will move quite a bit.
Yeah, this is a lot of space. I think Dragons are looking quite in a sweet position to potentially win this map here, especially with how aggressive they keep getting just to find 1 or 2 picks. Volpe and Fairy are coming back from spawn super quickly, but now with Swinburne all here, they might be able to finally win one of these fights.
Is the clone used for the Genji? They're going to look to get that blade out ASAP. Although taking Volpe is huge, the beat does drop to give them a bit of sustain, but Bongo cutting through that nonetheless and finding a good couple kills the one person in the Gravitic Flux. So Mystery now having to play on that objective alone. Bongo finding the cleanup, and they will get it just shy of that second point.
And that is the only time you want to use every ultimate in your arsenal is when you need to stop the payload moving in overtime. Literally every ultimate on the side of Swinburne was pressed. They used the Flux, they used the duplicate, they used the blade duplicate, they used the supercharger, they used the Valkyrie, the amplification matrix, and then just at the end Juicebox threw out that configuration tech. So they literally threw everything at the table just to stop that payload. And that's testament to how well Dragons pushed it as well, that they had to commit every ult just to stop it from moving. So now, if we do see Dragons do this up-close defense, even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't stop the push fully, it's going to give them that second fight. So hopefully we do see them do the full hold defense. It looks like they're crouching. They're ready to do it. They want to get up close. And if it can give them 2 fights and they win at least one of them, that's the map win.
Yeah, exactly. They can afford to give a little bit of risk here because the reward is just so great. Instantly going to put up those turrets ready to go, and we're going to see straight from the playbook once again. A little bit early maybe because they haven't come out.
Yeah, this time they responded really well.
Well, of course, as we say that, Juice going to be eaten by the pin. And this time already that they've just bought themselves with that single pickup, they get Bongo as well. This is just looking so good for Dragons.
Yeah, now we're back to a minute. So we're down to that last 60 seconds. And Swinburne have to find something to work. They need to find some picks here. And it's going to be hard, especially with a Symmetra that you can pull back. Aggression, though, there we go. Good response to the aggression.
Volpe really committing for that pin and didn't quite get the connection they needed to finish it off. The telly gets them out relatively safe, but there's still a few people down, so they need to be super careful and keep backing on up till they can get the rest of the side together. They cannot afford to lose anything here, Dragons.
Yeah, they cannot let one person get picked, because if they do, then Swinburne can just get so aggressive and win the first point. And now Volpe getting aggressive back. They do. Ooh!
Man, I like the aggression, but they got to be so careful. Early ults to come out. The barrier blocks a lot of that window out. So if they play around this well, Dragons, they should be relatively safe. The telly lets them get in behind the team, so go for a little bit of flank work. Anti-nade onto Spin Pipe, puts the pressure on to that frontline barrier. The Nano on Soggy. This is their time to break through. They get rid of the tank, which means the barrier's mostly gone, so Bongo has to put a lot in. They go in for the ult to try and take it out. The res brings Spin Pipe back in, but the ult on the cart puts the pressure on. Doesn't actually get the kills they need, unfortunately for them. So this overtime push, slowly but surely, continues to move by Spin Pipe. Shatter just dropping the hammer down. Oh my goodness, it was really scrappy, but they keep it in their hands here.
And that scrappiness might win them a third fight here if Mystery gets in and stalls it out. Yeah, with the TP available, they can get back really quickly here. Volpe's now dropped the shatters out. We could see the hold by Dragons come through still.
Let's go, Volpe, finally getting the shatters that they're looking for. Good anti-nade on the objective, puts a lot of pressure onto Swinburne. Gravitic Flux pulls them up, but not for quite long enough to get them the objective. That was really tight there. Down to the final 3 meters as the Stragglers look to hold this objective, but Dragons have all the power in the bank and clean up the field. They're bringing it back, baby.
Chaotix on the high ground as Ana just got that finishing pick after finishing pick. They may not have needed to do the damage, but they just landed that last shot or a good anti-nade, and it just confirmed those kills. Seeing Keo on the board, that was beautiful to watch. My gosh, and I mean, I think that was really smart positional playing on the defense of Havana and good map knowledge of Havana as well coming out by Dragons. Just knowing that, you know, if we play up close, if we play if we play up close and we sort of do that defensive front store hold, we can have 2, maybe 3 defenses. So really good to see from Dragons, really smart map knowledge and probably some really good coaching on Havana, learning how to play that map well. So now we're 1-1 considering we had a draw, and they get to choose a Swinburne, in fact, get to choose between either a hybrid or a payload map. So we're either going to see Numbani or we're going to see Rialto here. What do you think the pick is here, stranger?
It is hard. It's I don't know. This is just like they're both so flexible. It's getting quite hard to tell who will be strong on what. Maybe we'll see Rialto more likely. Again, these two DPS sides are so flexible. You can see we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of hit scan. We've seen people able to flex onto Echo. We've seen the Pharahs come out both ways. Widow players. It's just like so much flexibility. So I think it will just come down to whatever they've practiced more on, which would be we can never know. But man,
Yeah.
Dragons have tonight been the king of clutch because they are just smashing it in the final moments of these maps. If they can bring that final bit of energy into the beginning, they won't even have to worry about those overtimes anymore. So I'm very impressed by their play there. Swinburne are doing great too. They are keeping up the pressure. I just feel like Dragons have found their footing a bit more compared to what we saw earlier on.
Oh, absolutely. Dragons are the redemption story of the century right now in terms of they started out looking quite messy, but now they are really solid. They know what's going on and they've tightened the gears. They've gotten those loose screws fitted in and now they are a well-oiled machine. I think personally, if I was on the side of Swinburne, I would go to whatever map they feel like is going to give them more confidence on the Winston comp they were running earlier, because they definitely did a lot more successful dives and really good
Mm,
communication when they ran that. So, you know, Swinburne, if they can get back to what they were a bit more comfortable on, especially early on at the start, that would be good. I think Numbani would be a really good map pick for Swinburne because Numbani really shuts down Volpe's Reinhardt. And if they're able to do that, that means that Dragons can't run that sort of solid death ball brawl, sort of rush you down, take you out play style that they've
mm.
seemed to adopt very well. So personally, I think I would choose Numbani if I was Swinburne, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. as the teams are sort of deliberating what map they want to choose.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, I feel like Swinburne. I don't know if maybe they were feeling really confident, and now they're seeing dragons come back pretty strong. If it's kind of making them a bit nervous, they're still having some moments where they're committing ults at bad times, or
Mm.
like double committing ults, and I feel like those little moments are adding up. So if they tidy that up, I think they'll become really strong again. Um, and that's just a communication thing, I guess. Like these Dragons have been together for like 6 months. Most of the team, Swinburne have been. I forget how long exactly they've been together, but they're not like newer either. So it's just more of like a how well have they coordinated that training and that kind of thing. But looks like they finally picked up what map they want to go to. Numbani it will be in the end.
Oh, cool. I predicted well. That makes me happy. That makes me feel confident in my
You look
knowledge
great.
of what's going on. Um, so yeah, no, I think that's the right choice. And you guys can't see this, but Swinburne might be giving us a little bit of insight of what's gonna happen as everyone has now made their icons Winston. So we might see a little bit of a sort of a Winton jump, a Winton zap, a Winton ult, a Winton nap. Who knows? It might come through. But I think we might be seeing at least a monkey on the field.
I love I love when these teams have a bit of banter going on in the lobby. We always have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
It's just classic OCE stuff. Yeah, like you say, Numbani, exactly. They pull out the Winston again, get back to where they were comfortable, like we saw earlier on, and see if they can use that to just break open dragons like they managed to do in that first map.
Yeah, I think if Swinburne are gonna look strong anywhere, it's gonna be here on Numbani now. This dive, they're scary with their dive. They know where to call out those targets and break them down. So I guess Fairy Bread, Chaotix, watch out. That's my warning. However, also Swinburne, I do hear Chaotix has eaten their chicken nuggies, so it's gonna be fair play on both sides right now. Both sides are going to be strong. And it looks like Swinburne, they're also going to be attacking first. So they want to set the pace on what's going on here. They want to really probably try and take a really quick time bank and put a lot of pressure onto Dragons for when they need to push.
Yeah, totally. Oh man, I am eager to see even more of Juicebox on the Bastion potentially as well. I feel like we haven't quite seen them really popping off with it yet. Like they've been pretty consistent, but they haven't quite had their moment where they, just absolutely smash it with the ult and manage to clean up team or anything like that. They've just kind of been very consistently in the middle. So interested to see with them. I honestly think Bongo on that Widow is kind of scary. Every time we've seen them pop on the Widow, there's a bomb, there's a headshot, bomb, there's another one. It's like maybe they should try and work around that a bit more. It's an interesting, kind of play. So again, it speaks about the flexibility of both these sides.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The fact that like Bongo, the Genji player, is able to also play Widow
Yeah.
really well. That's a rare occasion. So I agree. I think Bongo, if they can clean up their Widow, they could be very scary, especially on this defense. There's a lot of places that Widow can position themselves in Numbani to get some good headshots. But also, as we speak about the defense of Numbani, I'm gonna keep going back to Juicebox, dude, on the Bastion. There are some cheeky spots Bastion can set up and just burn down on first point Numbani. So we might see the Bastion come out. But we are seeing exactly what I expected come out from Swinburne, and that is the Winston Diva, followed up with the Tracer, the Genji. This dive is going to be executed so well, and if I'm Leyline Dragons, I want to make sure that there is not a single player caught out that can get dived by the whole team of Swinburne.
Yeah, and also it's quite an interesting lineup for Dragons here because they've got such high mobility DPS. They're gonna have to be really careful about looking after their supports who are going to be quite prone to being left as the final target in this kind of scenario. So it's going to be very important for them to look after their backline.
Yeah, the honor, especially Keotix, they're gonna be searched for, so it'll be interesting to see how Keotix survives polarity as well. Both these honors gonna kind of struggle to follow up with the dive here. It's all gonna come down to who dives first, and Volpe's gonna be pressure.
Yeah, team coming in to back them nicely though, so they're still looking all right. Really trying to find that opening here, Swinburne. They haven't quite got the pickup, but they are putting a lot of damage in, forcing the jump outs. Juicebox looking for that pickup on Soggy, who's managed to just back out. We see the peel coming in from Hoovy. They find the kill, but may have overcommitted too much. They have to be careful, but the rest of the team comes in to make sure they don't get fully taken out, only losing the mech.
Oh, but Volpe falling, that is unfortunate for the side of Dragons here, as they are going to not sort of have the Winston ready as they as the next dive is going to come through here, but they need to just find a couple more quick picks to unlock this fight, and it's going to be Fairy Bread and Keotix to get dived by some Spin Pie.
Yeah, Spin Pie's doing really well to keep the chaos going. We see the team feeling the need to play to that point. Volpe has to go in alone, just box, finding a good kill there on Soggy, so they get the aerial damage out, although Fairy's not done with it just yet with the res to bring them back in and trying to keep that side going strong. And you can see that is exactly what's happening because they're just not confident to push on right now. Swinburne is struggling to just have that presence on the objective.
I think in comps like this where you're trying to dive together, if one or two people have died, you can't keep playing the constant 1v1v1 and try and stall it out because you're just going to lose time bank. You may as well just commit to the death or jump off the map or go back to spawn and regroup so then you can execute your dive together again, because realistically, if you're all doing these 1v1 fights, it is going to be more valuable for the defense and it's going to stagger out your time bank. So hopefully here now they can push together a little bit more cleanly.
Minute 40, and Swinburne looking to find the gap to get in. We see the Nano Blade go out, but there's just no kills on the feed that you'd expect from it. Finally, they do manage to land it, as I say that, of course, 2 onto the point there. Looking to get the clone on as well. That Diva Bomb lands nicely from Hoovy to just really reduce the pressure from that Bongo. We get the clone bomb out as well, and that finds one too. So the Diva Bombs have come in clutch for the hold.
Now this time though, we're seeing something a little bit different that we haven't seen from Swinburne. They didn't commit all their ultimates. They didn't throw everything out on the table here. They've still got a sound barrier, they've still got a tactical visor, and they've still got a primal rage. Meanwhile, 5 ultimates got used by Dragon, so they've only got the EMP to try and stop this fight. An EMP is a big ult, and it could certainly do a lot of work here, but it's going to be a hard defense now for Dragons.
Yeah, they got to be really careful. If they find an early pickup from that ult, that will be exactly what they need. Soggy's trying to do it. Juice has found a little bit of value, but the trade is back and forth, so we're still looking quite even. See if these tanks are able to shut down a few more. Bongo's taking out Fairy though, which is huge. There's no reses for Dragons at all, and they lose the mech onto the objective, so Bongo can reign in the terror as they're still trying to deal with Spinpie, who's just beating them up in that room and taking out the Arno who they actually trade with. So I don't know, this ult here could actually save them. Volpe has to make sure they have that presence on the objective as Mystery, trying to keep the pressure on as well, but that higher ground strength from Juice is really hard to deal with, and Fairy has to be careful. They're outside the barrier, so they do get found as Bongo continuing to keep it going. Beat drop as well gives them all the help they could need to stay aggressive here. They want to just clean the field. They haven't quite been given even a tick yet. As we get the Lucio cologne from Soggy, it's just actually really strong. Gives them a lot of momentum on the objective, and they keep the stall going to allow a few more of the teammates to get in. Mystery's found Juice off that high ground, which is great to remove the pressure as we still have them on that objective stalling. Finally, the first tick will be given, but this overtime is a scary place to be. They seem to have put the pressure on, though, enough to get it in their hands.
Oh, but the Valkyrie's getting used now to try to keep the fight alive, and Nano into Volpe. They're not down and out of it yet, Stranger. They want to keep this fight going, and it might be to no avail as Arda gets taken out.
Fairy with the attempted res, but Juice shuts it down before it can happen. I think they found the kills here that they needed, unless there's some crazy ult here from Hoof, but they're not able to keep themselves in the mech, so it's been about a whole extra minute of overtime there, but they find themselves at the point in the end.
If anything, at least they got Swinburne into overtime, which means they've only got 2 minutes to need to push Streets phase. However, these staggered kills, if they come through for Swinburne, might make Streets phase a little bit of a breeze, so you gotta be careful. And Volpe is doing good protection of Chaotix, meaning that the rest of Leyline Dragons can group up. Now, it is gonna come down to the likes of Juicebox, Spinpie, Bongo using these ults effectively. Nope, the bomb takes out Volpe. There we go, not Tech Visor. There's the Tech Visor.
Just the follow-up here to try and keep some of that pressure on. We see the Diva Bomb blow out. Everyone's got protection though, so no kills to be found, unfortunately. But the remake, once again, man, Hoopy really is good with those remakes. Spinpie taking out a healer to try and just make it a little more difficult. The second healer falls as well, so now Dragons have got no sustain. And that just means they're going to be on the back foot, or that if they stay in, they're probably going to die. And you can see that Swinburne knows that they can just keep that pressure on, although that hack is coming pretty well. Volpe taking out 2 with it, really good. Bongo's continuing that pressure, though. They're going to be a little careful about it, but they found the car back into their hands here. The grab committed on the way out. Interesting. It does win them the fight, but we're staggered on this on the hold. 2 supports. I don't think they'll make the hold.
60 seconds.
Mystery is going to desperately try, but it's not going to do too much. Just a little bit of seconds, and is anyone going to actually let the point cap? There we go. There we go. They decided to cap point now. I mean, yeah, that was a messy fight once again. Lots of ultimates have just been committed everywhere, but it did work out in the favor of Swinburne, and I think that's where Swinburne are really good at fighting those one-on-one picks. In Streets phase, when things are a little bit more messy, you can't play together as well. But now third point, I think Dragons might look quite strong.
Oh, that is absolutely brutal. Juice comes in with the Sidewinder, taking out 2 and following up with the third, 4th on the table. Man, Juice has just made their name with the 5th as well. Nobody is allowed on that kill feed but Juice. They're looking for the 6th final piece to it. The rest of the team will have it, but Juice is getting right up in the front there to just put that pressure down. Bongo will steal their clout. The cart will move thanks to Polarity. And now it's really tough, this hold. It's going to be a bit of a stagger on, and with so many players here for the attack, it's going to be pretty easy to just clean up one after the other.
Wow, I mean, what a really good attack by Juicebox here. However, now Dragons are finding their defense. They have that closest spawn, and they managed to get a couple of picks. Spinpie committed the Primal Rage, which just gets charged into a wall, and that is going to be a complete cleanup there for Dragons. They did manage to get the defense, and I find this is exactly where Dragons are going to thrive. You know, they can put Volpe back onto the Reinhardt. Reinhardt does really well on this last defensive hold, and now Volpe's got a Shatter ready. They're going to be able to commit it in this next fight. We'll see whether Juicebox can produce another Juicebox deadlift, like the Flatter deadlift, but a Juicebox instead.
Get that Juice Box going. We see this would be Dragon's chance to really get an early pick and seal the deal if they can find it for themselves, but they have to back a little bit. The Shatter shuts down. Nothing from Juice there. They eat a hammer to the face for it, and that means that all of that offense is removed. A perfectly positioned Diva Bomb from Hoovy. We expect nothing less, and there's only 10 seconds left, and there's just no one even to go near that cart.
That is where the cart is going to rest. Bongo will get the overtime. They're going to just go and get the touch. And now, Volpe getting a bit aggressive though. Soggy is going to Death Blossom just to confirm that point. And that is going to be where the payload stops. They did pretty much push it all the way to the end, but unfortunately just not quite there. So now it is going to come down to how well can they defend? How well can Swinburne hold this point? You know, are they going to be able to produce a full hold? Are they going to be able to stop it just a little bit earlier? Because that's what Swinburne want to do. They want to make sure that Numbani doesn't get capped, because they're going to go down in the series here 2-1. So yeah. Meanwhile, Leyline, They know what they want to do. The Dragons, they absolutely just need to push it to the wee little golden box. They don't need to push it all the way to the end, just as far as Swinburne pushed it. So they're looking pretty good right now, but Numbani is one of those really strange maps where you could get completely full held. You could lose out on Streets phase. You know, there's so many potential positions that you could lose out on. And I think if anything here, it looks like, to me at least, to me it looks like that Swinburne are gonna be pretty strong on this defense here, because they are really good at calling out targets, and when you're trying to attack, it's a little bit harder to organize yourself versus when you're trying to defend and just stop the attackers coming at you. So I feel like we might see Swinburne looking quite strong at this defense here.
Yep, this is their point to hold for sure, and we know that Dragons are no team to waste time. They want to get in there nice and early. Volpe again will be looking to just break this wide open, and they do have Mystery running around that back line to make sure to put some pressure onto that supportive role. They go to that high ground. They don't quite find the opening they need yet, so not going to overcommit just yet. We see that Mystery's found this spot. They have to be careful not to get taken themselves, but Volpe's getting in amongst the two. Juice answers to them quickly, and the res will bring Volpe back in nonetheless. We're balancing it back out again. They're just crammed into this corridor by Volpe, though. Oh, man, they do get taken out. The damage is there, but the Dragons have found themselves on that point for the first tick, at least. Now, they have to be careful not to get too spread. Pingo makes their way onto their point just to counteract that. They're very alone. You'd think the Dragons would be able to get a little bit more going on the point since they're so split. Mystery's just popped off on their high ground to put the pressure on and keep them away from the objective, and the split push has worked really well for them.
What won them that fight was ultimately Soggy, to be honest. Soggy put in so much work just to ensure that that fight was for the Dragons, and it worked perfectly, to be honest. I'm blown away by how good Soggy is on this Echo, and now taking out Juicebox again. I mean, Soggy's putting in a lot of work, and they got crucial picks to ensure that Swinburne could not do this. Oh, so really impressive to see from Soggy.
Even having them on the back foot here as well by finding a couple picks there early. And now they'll just get this free space up to the bus. Even the tanks are finding it very difficult to keep a solid line. They have to commit 2 ults to the fight because of it. Great backline Diva Bomb. They commit the High Noon as well. A lot to be thrown out here just on the defensive to stop this cart because it's just moving.
Man, they're throwing everything on the wall to see what will stick, and fortunately, it did go in the favor of the defense. You know, they did manage to get the space and get this hold here, as well as get a few ults out. They got the Valkyrie out, they got the Primal Rage, but now Soggy's got another duplicate, and Senpai is feeling the pressure of it.
Soggy not afraid to throw out those Diva Bombs as well. The Winston clone on the other side, and they get the ult early, but put to sleep. Absolutely brutal. There's just going to be no value found from it in the end. That clone, it will keep the harassment on. They need to be careful about their back line. No healing because of the harassment. And so that front has been held nicely. The Arna's still not been able to escape. So the chase down will lead to their demise in the end. A bit too scrappy on the attack, perhaps.
Yeah, that attack was looking quite messy. There was a lot happening everywhere. And once again, I've said it time and time again, it just feels like that's where Swinburne thrives. When there's a lot of chaos going on, they can seem to kind of see through the chaos and see what the bigger picture is and who they should take out first. And it's been working out really well for Swinburne here. Spinpie especially working their little wee monkey butt off trying to get those confirmed kills. And Juicebox Dude as well. They're both playing phenomenally well right now.
This is smart. They give it a little bit of space here, force the backwards play, and now this leaves a bit of an opening at the front. They got to be careful there. Arna once again hits a great sleep, but then woken up. A hack comes out. Again, it's getting messy just because of Spinpie's great dislodgement from the ult. A great pin onto Pingu. They have to go high, and they nano onto Volpe, just allow that frontline aggression. Mystery popping out the damage. Pingu's been given the nano, It's a bit harder to put out that damage compared to Volpe, who's just able to swing through the team. They do fall in the end, but the space that they've owned has been absolutely beautiful. Great bubble. That noon absolutely shut down for Soggy. The Diva Bomb takes them out of the fight, so they keep this hold still.
Yeah, that was a clutch Diva Bomb, and it's looking like now Swinburne have kind of regained their confidence in their play style of this sort of dive comp, where they can kind of just make sure they're working together to get those picks. They finally woken up here. Volpe now on the Reinhardt with a shatter available, so they're just going to be looking for where can we throw the shatter to get the most valuable picks, and this could be it here, going up in the high ground.
A lot of damage though onto Volpe there. Their Diva Bomb just bumps through the team, manages to pick up the one, takes them off that high ground as well. So can they keep the strength? Although Pingu's just run through them as well to push them off the high ground. It's a bit of a struggle back and forth for the power of that high ground strength. Although they've forgotten about Bongo behind them, who's just tearing through it. Fairy Bread deals to them, giving them a taste of the music, but are they able to get out themselves?
Ooh, they just managed to get away. Pingu and Spinpai opting to not take that fight, and now currently in terms of the ultimate's advantage, it is looking like Swinburne has a little bit more value in terms of ultimates. They got the Nano, they got a Primal Rage, they could use that together. You know, Nano the Winston goes in, does a lot of damage and Primals at the end, so they could potentially win this last fight if they play it smart.
The Dragons, they really got to get that opening here. 45 seconds is cutting it super fine. They want to get right into that backline because they're sick of dealing with these frontline tanks, and you can see Polarity just getting absolutely dunked on. That's rough. They got to be careful about the noon. Juice is looking for the opening, doesn't get what they want, which is good for Dragons. This is their chance. They have to be careful not to get put into a bad position by Spinpai, who the shatter drops into the bubble, not quite what you'd want out of it, but the beat drop does save Volpe, who's got that anti on them. The Nano allows them to have the sustain, but the cart's not going into essence. That off tank's still holding it nicely. They finally clean that up to get some space, and Volpe's still holding it strong here. They got to get this moving. They have to be careful about that monkey coming around that backside, but Dragons, they might just find the second point.
Yeah, they found something within their arsenal in the nick of time to just manage to break them up. However, Spinpai now getting an aggressive, but that Blizzard should absolutely confirm that point.
Yeah, that was a do or die moment. It didn't quite go their way. Also, a lot of ults committed to try to hold it, and not too much value, really. Reaper in behind. Soggy, where did that come from? Absolutely sidewinds them. Gets taken out, but has made a huge dent in the team.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly what you want. When you've only got a minute left, you want to have as many broken team fights as possible. Get your Volpe back, get your Soggy back, and then be able to just push this cart together. However, the defense has that closest spawn, so the defense is going to be able to bring a lot of pressure, but it just needs to get around this little corner and just a little bit further. Can Dragons do it?
This is cutting it close. These two teams tied as ever, of course. The bomb getting dropped right where it stands. Unfortunately, Fairy does get taken out. This is so close for the Dragons. They can taste the victory. It's right there. Can they keep the team going when they have Bongo in their back line? The reverse pin attempt from Volpe doesn't connect, and Juice has found that opening to get rid of Soggy. That's a lot of damage. The shatter falls. Polarity trying to stay alive. They managed to pick up Volpe, which is not what they wanted. That tank line falling for Dragons. They're struggling with it. A Diva Bomb to the sky shuts down the push, and in the final 10 seconds, they managed to get this hold. Soggy, will they be able to get the touch in?
Just managed to get the touch, but it's going to be pretty hard to keep this fight alive, especially now for Volpe there. Really good ultimates at the end coming out from Swinburne just to confirm this fight. I mean, Dragons still are trying to win this, but it's going to be really hard when, you know, Swinburne, they play together so well. They can find those low targets and burn through them very quickly. If there's one thing Swinburne can do, it is get picks. And so that is going to be the payload just stopping before the golden box of victory, and Swinburne taking Numbani, which means now they are up to 2-1. Considering we had the draw earlier, it is currently a 2-1 state. And moving into control, the first control we saw went to Swinburne. So Swinburne are looking pretty right now with a potential win on their hand. I think if
On 2
Dragons
HP.
want to come through, they're gonna have to work hard to get the W.
Yeah, I mean, a brutal defeat for them. You could see the finish line, and they just didn't quite have what they needed to finish that off. That was an amazing play of the game as well. Just Juice just popping off 2 HP. They managed to flick that flashbang over the wall and get the kill on the opposing cast. So really great game there. Oh man, I thought that Dragons, they had the momentum there for a moment, but yeah, tripping at the final moment is rough. I do think they had a really good first point. Much better performance from Swinburne on that second point, though. They looked a lot stronger at just disrupting them and pulling them apart, which made it a lot harder for Dragons to just confirm that objective.
Yeah, it was a very difficult sort of streets hold for Dragons as well. So that streets phase, Swinburne really looks quite well coordinated there. They managed to get that dive going exactly the way they wanted. And then even though Dragons did manage to find that little bit of steam they needed, the defense from Swinburne, they only needed to do it for a minute, and it worked out a complete treat. Ilios, I think we're going to see more of the same, that classic dive coming out from Spinpai and Pingu, followed up by Juicebox playing, honestly, whatever Juicebox wants, and Bongo on the Genji has been super consistent, so I don't think we'll see too much difference coming through here. It seems like they know their dive playstyle really well. And we might see the Reinhardt come out, but actually, we're going to see Volpe on the Wrecking Ball, back to what we saw at the very start of the game, and makes me a little bit nervous right now for Leyline Dragons.
Oh, man, yeah. I think that they do, Swinburne do really thrive in this kind of chaos and the speed of it all, where feels like Dragons, they thrive a little more in the more structured approach. So this is going to be a hard mat for them. I think this does lean a little bit into Swinburne's favor.
Absolutely. Swinburne, they really know how to play the dive well. If Soggy can come up with a few picks, same with Volpe, they might be able to do it. Mystery, of course, on this Farah can put a lot of pressure down as well. So we'll see how they go. Spinpai already taking out Kyo, though.
Mystery is going to be the one to make the difference here. They got to be careful not to be taken by those hit scans, which will be a game of just dodging those line of sights the whole time. We see the D-Mech onto Hoovy, although Volpe's still keeping it strong, rolling around. We see them move towards this objective, and they want to take it to start. So Dragons now are playing on the attack. They want to get in. Volpe, a little too split, I think, from the rest of the side, and they get cleaned up here.
Poor Fairy Breed just left alone on the side of a cliff to fall off there. And oh, Volpe taking Pingu off though. Volpe getting a cheeky peek pick before going back to their team. And that could actually give enough space for Dragons to start getting aggressive if they want to. But they got to do it quickly because Pingu is basically already back for the defense.
Yeah, they've almost already lost that time advantage here as they make their way onto this point, but there's still those tanks to deal with. Down goes the pulse bomb, which takes Hoovy out of mech. Once again, they're having a hard time staying in that. As Spinpai just absolutely smashes down on Soggy, that low health pull, not doing wonders for their sustainability here. And Volpe moving in, gets their one once again, but taken out. That stun onto Mystery, almost dropping them off the objective. They're just not quite finding the impact they need, Mystery, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for Mystery right there, falling off the map, getting booped off. The Deadeye now trying to just confirm a little bit of the defense here. And I absolutely agree. I think the pharmacy plays into exactly what Swinburne like, and that means that they don't need to think about the pharmacy and they just dive the other 4 players and take them out. So it's playing perfectly into what Swinburne want, and unfortunately kind of making it slightly harder for Dragons to do this push because Swinburne, they play together so well. That pulse bomb could unlock the fight for Dragons though, especially with Minefield on point.
Good ult uses here from Dragons. This is their opportunity to get in. They better get the convert out of this. Otherwise, it's really not going to bode well for the rest of the map. Down goes the Diva Bomb. They shut it down before it can get remake as well. So a good tank removed from the fight. This is Dragon's chance. They gotta seize it, but they're still just struggling to find the picks. Either way, Hoovy gets their ult off on the objective, but no one's around. Bongo takes themselves out, as you saw with that. Was that with the pulse bomb? It must have been. Juice doing well to take Fairy out, so the healing and the res is removed from the fight, and the overtime is trickling now. Dragons have not seized the moment from their previous great ult use.
This Primal just coming through to stall to allow the rest of Swinburne to come back here. Bongo now taking out Mystery during the rocket barrage, but Sdogga is still trying to keep this fight alive here, Stranger. They're putting in so much work, but it's just not going to be enough, as now it is Hoof taken out and Fairy Breed just can't touch. My gosh. They stalled that so well, managing to get that 100% from nothing, and I do think it's a little bit of a team comp difference there. Realistically, I think the fact that it sort of was a 4v6, considering Mystery was never sort of around in terms of they're in the sky. They're still around, but they're in the sky, which means that this dive comp can focus down Keo, can focus down Fairy Bread and Soggy and Volpe. And so really unfortunate to see that happen. And potentially now, especially with the Cassidy on the field, you might not want to play the Pharah anymore, but Mystery's still opting to run it.
The Mystery great on the Pharah. I just feel like Juice is just having such a game tonight that it's so oppressive. It's not that Mystery's playing bad, it's just really hard to have good value when you have just such oppressive hit scans on both of the DPS slots with the enemy side. So if they can find the opening, they'll be doing great. We also saw a great bubble just before that shut down Mystery's ult and ended up doing a lot more damage themselves. So here we are, the chance for redemption. Dragons, they got to play really strong in this early battle. Losing Fairy Bread off the bat, not great. A good sleep up, but the follow-up is not there as both supports fall, and Dragons essentially losing this fight off the bat.
Dragons are just so good at that dive. We saw Spenpai and Bongo both immediately jump onto Keotix there. And yeah, Keotix felt that. They immediately swap off onto Baptiste. They don't even want to run the Ana anymore. And I understand that. I respect that. I don't like being dived myself. So the swap makes sense, but it's just so hard. How do you respond when the dive is good? When Juicebox is awake and on top of their game? You've got to swap up the comp. Maybe match that comp. Bring out a Cassidy of your own, or bring the Mei back. The Mei's been so good.
They do manage to avoid too much output from that Cass ult, but the boot means that the supports are getting amongst the output too. Mystery gets their kill, but maybe a little too late into the fight as the rest of the team has fallen.
Yeah, now, that is a good pick from Mystery, taking out Spenpai. It might unlock the fight, but Mystery, you don't want to get too aggressive when the rest of your team isn't there. And fortunately, it's going to work out in Mystery's favor. That is huge.
That's a big boot, getting rid of them, and they didn't have the ability to make the escape, so the rest of the team rejoining the battle at the perfect time. Juicebox gets on for a bit of defense, a stun to maybe take Volpe out, but the damage from above is great. The pressure is able to be continued. They got to be careful about Juice's positioning. We see the ult from the monkey. Volpe's having none of it. There's the Noon, sneaks on through and takes both of them out of the sky, so the Pharmacy deleted from the battle, and you can see the impact it has already as the damage output is just so much lower. Volpe has to back out even against just this Diva right here. Now we see Soggy go. They're just not able to hold it when they lose one player. It's getting a bit hard for Dragons.
Yeah, they are just feeling stuck right now. Mystery put in so much work, got 3 picks, but then Juicebox just dead-eyes and takes them out of the sky. And it's so hard being a Pharah in this situation where everyone is all around. So even with all that hard work, just not enough. And now Sound Barrier and Nano can finish off this fight.
That anti-nade deleted their health, but it doesn't matter. Soggy gets 3, but it's just not enough for them to win the whole game. That overtime will trickle away, and we'll call GG's for the night because Swinburne clean up the field.
Swinburne absolutely looked pretty strong on those last 2 maps of Control, and I think Juicebox played really well. Spenpai incredible on the Winston as we see them take the play of the game here. There's that anti-nade you were talking about. Gigantic. Just to completely remove that health. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. Really well executed comps, and I think dragons. I think now what we're seeing is dragons need to find a play style on control that's going to work for them solidly. Because I think if they can find the control play styles, they can win
Mm,
series. If they win one control map, they win the series here pretty much. So really good match. Dragons obviously showing us they're so good at payload, so good at hybrid. If they can clean up their control maps, they can definitely take some wins.
for sure. That was an impressive play. It's unfortunate to see Dragons tripping there. I think Swinburne maybe just had a little bit more consistency across the whole matchup. We saw maybe Dragons just falling off a little bit at the end there. They got a bit frustrated, I think, with some of their play and maybe stuck to some picks that they could have switched up to. And so, yeah, consistency wise, Swinburne really good. I thought earlier on they were struggling with their alt uses, but they managed to keep it pretty tidy after that. So, a well earned victory from them. Um, and yeah, even with the draw, they still managed to pull it out with not too many matches. So, anyway, we will go to a short break before we bring you our second matchup for the night. So, we'll see you in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our second match of the night after what was a relatively close match between the Dragons and Swinburne. We now move on to our second match of the night, Division 5. This is the problem versus Jokers. Opara, do you want to run us through This is the problem?
Yeah, first up, this is the problem, which I'm going to be interested to see what is the problem on this side. They've got their main tank of Kybird Warrior, or we might be calling them Luna there, opting for that Winston, and then Strange on the off tank, really liking the Sigma. I like to see a Sigma player coming through. We have Az on the hit scan. Their favorite hero is Farah. And then Lori, we have on their flex DPS is Hanzo. Then they've got Aureus on the main support for Ana. And finally, Panda, the flex support Mercy. I think apparently their key player to keep an eye out for is going to be Az, probably on the Farah. Now you might see some Pharmacy coming along. Once again, looking like quite a bit of a dive sort of play style here. And a little bit about this is the problem. They formed for Season 14, Stage 1 of AAOL. Some of their members had played together on the QUT team previously. They had a couple of starting player changes for Stage 2 with Panda joining the roster, and they won Stage 1 Div 7 and got promoted to Div 5.
Pretty good performance for a relatively new side there. Looking over at Jokers, also a relatively new team, maybe a little bit longer there. As a team, we've got Sir Laptop, one of the newer additions, I believe, on that main tank. They look like they like to bring up that Winston. Ratchet on the off tank as Diva, so we've got a little bit of that dive. Seeing a little Winston tonight, which is great. Sweat on the hit scan. We see maybe Widowmaker coming out. We liked a bit of that from the match earlier on, which was great. Squelch also on that flex with the Echo. So got that mobility. We've seen a lot of Echo as well, performing really good. So Bees from our home there, main support. On that Lucio, we'll get some rhythm coming out of them. And then Eggs, who's been with the team for the longest, really, is their Ana flex support there, looking to bring up that back line. Overall, the team pretty strong, looking really heavy on that DPS line, so strong on their two DPS players. So it'll be good to look. It's interesting to see how some of their newer players might gels with the rest of the team. So we'll see how those two guys go together.
Yeah, absolutely. Two, once again, strong looking teams. I mean, a Div 7 team getting promoted to Div 5, that is huge. So we'll see how they go up against Ace Jokers. We've seen the Jokers around the block a few times now, so we'll see what happens. Just a quick reminder of the map pool. We're going to be starting off on Busan once again for our control map, and then we'll be moving to the hybrid of Blizzard World or Nimbani. You got to see them both last match. And then we've got the escort options of Rialto or Havana in terms of who gets to choose. In terms of the fourth map, the loser gets to choose whether we go to hybrid or escort, and it's going to be the map that wasn't played out of those two options. And then if we need to, we go to Ilios for a control map. But let's just jump straight into it, Stranger, jumping into Busan.
Again, those Winstons likely to come out here at the beginning?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll see both Winstons come out. And I guess it's going to come down to just the difference of full dive versus sort of a dive poke if they do play the Sigma. It'll be interesting to see what Strange chooses. They are going to go for Diva, but actually, Kybird running the Reinhardt. So it looks like it is going to be a bit of a, this is the problem, running over Ace Jokers here. And whether Ace Jokers can respond well and maybe dive onto Aureus or something like that, that's going to be interesting to see how they respond to the dive. The the Mei on Lori is going to be crucial right now for This Is the Problem to block off some of those divers and then get those quick picks. So this is going to be two very different play styles going head to head. And if we take anything from what we saw last time, it does seem to be in the favor of Ace Jokers.
Well, Joker's already looking a bit more aggressive as they push across the lane. They have to use this Mei wall here to try and slow the momentum a little bit, but we are seeing quite a dominant map positioning here from Jokers off the bat.
Yeah, very dominant early on, and it is putting a lot of pressure onto this is the problem, and with that Panda does fall.
Nice bit of DPS on the front line to just break that open already with the ult. That is going to be one of the fastest ults we've seen tonight. Absolutely tearing through the line. The team are keen to clean that up before making their way back to this objective.
Very, very good positioning, and I think that is the bit of a team comp diff there. You know, you can just dive right on top of that back line, and we saw Panda fall early because of it. However, Nano is nearly built up, and we're almost at a shatter as well. So there is some potential here for, this is the problem, to make a problem for the Ace Jokers and really maybe win a quick team fight and not let them get too much percentage.
Yeah, they really want to make it, this is their problem instead of this is our problem. Visor will have to come out, as so will Sir Laptop's ult to just hit that back line. Well, Strange done quite a bit of work there to get rid of Sweat, so the DPS reduced very slightly. A little bit of back and forth here, but the point's still in Joker's hands, and they're not quite willing to just give it up after that fight. The res, though, bringing Laurie back in, will give them an advantage on the DPS side, and that damage buff on Azrael, making it very hard to just keep that open line of sight. Jokers have backed off nicely, not losing too many extra players, except Ratchet getting picked up late into the battle there by Laurie, who's popping off to take another. The nano boosters on the Rhine, and even though the hack has come out, they're still looking pretty strong on the attack. Squelch to take the 2 there, but it's put into the corner quickly afterwards, so not able to follow up afterwards.
I'm sorry, Laurie was disgusting on that Hanzo just then. Clean shots coming through by Laurie. Incredible to see. Nearly has the Dragon Strike now, but there was a lot of value built by Ace Jokers. They managed to play it safe, full back, allow the rest of the players that got picked off early, Sweat and Eggs with legs. They got to come back to the team fight and stall it out to 58%. So a solid fight so far for Ace Jokers, as we do just jump into a little pause here. But still, Kybird has a shatter available. Kybird has that shatter ready. They haven't committed it just yet. And with a Dragon Strike and a bomb, there's a few potential combos that you could work that shatter with.
Yeah, of course. And of course, we've seen so many good bombs coming out tonight, so nothing to expect less from that. Also, we had that Dragon. It could be very menacing for the push in, because now Laurie has them where they want them. So in this next few seconds, the ult use is going to be pretty important.
Yeah, ultimate usage is going to be critical here, and it is all just going to be about how do we initiate. Is the Dragon Strike going to be the first thing we throw out? Yes, it is.
It doesn't quite split the team, though, and so they follow up with the Shatter, which has absolutely huge value there. So Hybrid Warriors done a lot there to keep it in the hands for the team, and you see Jokers looking for an escape route here. Bees not quite quick enough to escape the Wrath.
Yeah, that was really good, recognizing that the Dragon Strike didn't work, but I can throw the Shatter in while they're a little distracted, and there's nothing really blocking me here for a free 3k. So really good Shatter coming out. Sweat now, still on the Sombra. They threw out the EMP earlier, and they haven't been able to build it back up just yet at 44%. They need to build up a bit more percentage.
Big ult from Ratchet opens up the field here for 2. The rest of the team's followed up really nicely, and that'll be a really clean swipe of the team to take this point back into their hands.
Yeah, that was just a really well placed Diva Bomb. It sort of landed on the top of the Shrine's roofing there, and then slid down to find 2 picks, and just like that, that's where dive works. The dive just jumped onto all of the remaining players of This Is The Problem and wiped them out here. And now it is going to be looking a little bit in the favor of the defense, as that sound barrier is available to stop the tech visor. We've got a Primal Rage to displace so let's see how they do it.
Bees with an offensive ult there from the sound barrier, which allows him to keep that aggression. They've got to be careful about getting stuck in that back line. Problem, they're still looking for that opening. They haven't found the picks they need for it. They're looking to have that Diva Bomb do something about that, and it does indeed, finding the 2. So can they follow up and get on the point in this overtime? They have got the Shatter dropping down to just clean up a few extras, and they got to get rid of that Reaper that can really put some pressure down. But man, Warrior has done a lot of work on this point to keep it in their hands, even with that offside. the sleep dart to get rid of the tank for just enough time to get that charge out. Now LEY gets himself on the objective as well. They got to clean out that monkey ASAP if they want to make sure the stays in their hands, but they're getting a lot of percentage here.
Yeah, they did manage to get the flip just on time before the rest of Jokers got back here. And so now, as long as they can get a few Sdogga kills consistently, this is probably their team fight to win. And with Exit Flex going down, it's all looking in favor of this is the problem.
And LEY absolutely has the skills as well to get those cheeky little individual kills. We fall into overtime as the stalling from Jokers is starting to get desperate here. Laptop gets himself in with a good bubble as the bomb drops to the back there, taking out 2, and maybe they're still in it here. It's getting very backwards and forwards. And they are just absolutely praying for a few more kills here, Jokers, as their supports get on. The shadow drops. Absolutely no fun for Eggs as they get eaten alive by the defensive tank line. Ratchet's also going to lose the mech, and Jokers, they're able to get on, but they're not able to find the pickups that they need. Azrael coming in with a nice cleanup for the visor, finding 2. Not even able to get on the point there, Bees. This is a great sound barrier to just give them heaps of sustain, and that overtime finally trickles away.
Warrior is so mean with the shadows. I think 3 of them have just been solo on the point right? Extra legs, feeling the shadows to the face every time. And oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. That was really good picks coming through on the side of this is the problem. They were able to really make sure they were getting pick after pick to confirm the team fight and stop Ace Jokers getting those kills as well. Even with the Diva Bomb that came through with Ratchet, there was just enough of a stall from Strange and Warrior to make sure that they do get that hold. As well on the Soldier 76, really good tech visor just to put that final bit of pressure, unlock the fight. Now, we're not seeing too many swaps come through on either side right now. So we'll see whether this is going to be a bit of the same sort of gameplay going on we saw last time, or whether something changes up for the side of Ace Jokers.
Joker's taking a little bit of a turnaround to the first map where they went more towards the objective. This time they rolled around it. And we see Team Problem move on to it early. Great anti-nade, but it's not enough to save Warrior, unfortunately, or find any pickups. The follow-up needs to be there for the Team Strange, putting a lot of damage onto Squelch, not quite letting that point cap go off just yet. They want to really keep it in their hands as long as they can to avoid giving any percent. Warriors coming in swinging, so Team Joker being very aware of their surroundings. They're trying to find those pickups one by one, but they have to keep their presence on this objective. Both the tanks as what remains the Team Problem, and it's getting really hard to sustain through. They will finally give over that objective.
I almost thought that res from Panda was going to win them the fight, because Warrior, like you said, was absolutely swinging and getting those picks, but then fortunately Ratchet and Bees and Eggs just found something within themselves to finish off those final few picks, especially taking out Aureus there, and that really confirmed the fight for Ace Jokers to get that pick there now. But realistically, we see a lot of ults on the side of this is the problem.
Big anti-nade onto the tank line for Problem, so they're looking to make their way in on Joker. The visor committed. Diva Bomb goes into their back line. Well protected, so no problems there, but Azrael's really struggling to find the finishing touches with that visor. The rest of the team looking to go in now. Warrior wants to play onto the point 2. The Dragons and the bomb onto the objective, but Warrior's got that nano on him, so getting very oppressive onto that team line of Jokers who have to space out. Laptop's committed the Monkey Rage as well, giving them the single kill onto the support, which means the sustain for Problem has dropped quite a bit, and maybe Jokers would just out them with the healing output that they've got there. It's just a little bit better. Warriors still swinging away. Every time I look at them, they're just swinging away on point. That's an awesome, aggressive Reinhardt. They still looking for the final pickups as they look to convert. They haven't quite been given it over yet. As Squelch still stalling away. Not given at all. 75% as well already for Jokers. They're sitting really pretty so far.
Man, one of the facts I saw for the side of Ace Jokers was Bees can stall for an amazing amount of time for some reason when they shouldn't be allowed to, and that's what we just saw. Bees was just constantly stalling out on that point, and it got them to 93%. It might even win them the fight there as the Shatter comes out, the tech visor can't confirm any kills because no one went to the ground. Sweat finally taken out, but nobody can touch Stranger.
They don't quite get there in time. They had all the ults anyway, right there at that opening to shut it down no matter what, so they looked pretty solid in the end.
Wow, that was such a change in pace for Ace Jokers. They managed to continue to do those stall fights, which they just didn't manage to get across in the first sort of shrine area. So really impressive to see them at their sort of full potential and playing to a T right there. And even when one or two gets picked off, you know, bees, eggs with legs can just keep stalling it out and making sure that that point doesn't go through. Also, Sweat came through just in the nick of time with a good EMP that confirmed a couple more picks and just kept them alive in that fight. Now Sweat is on the Cassidy, which I think is going to bring a lot of value, especially in the hangar bay here.
Bees enabling the team to get super aggressive here with that speed boost. You can see it does put a bit of fear in the eyes of Problem. They're backing right up. They want to take that high ground and move towards point. We go for the pins both ways, but Immortality Fields are keeping that tank line strong. Laptop really wants to find that finishing touch. Really strong high ground position here, but they're just booped around and they haven't got that strength on the objective. So Laptops found some cleanup before they've been taken out, and Bees as well getting involved with the damage. So Team Problem, they have to back up the few stragglers that are left.
Sweat put in a lot of work there, but so did Ratchet, so did Sir Laptop, and even just having Squelch there to slow them down and wall people off has been critical here. So yeah, definitely Ace Joker's looking super strong right now and showing us they don't need dive to be effective.
Attempted pin from Sir Laptop, using up the wall. The freeze on Strange is putting a lot of pressure and they can't quite keep that mech going. The backline support as well from Eggs is just insanely good. They keep getting that ult up in great timing. Sir Laptop goes so aggressive. The Shatter puts 3 to the floor. Oh my goodness, they're just committing everything into the fight to just keep them in their spawn point.
Don't get too over aggressive though, please. Amplification Matrix trying to punish it, but Strange is feeling the full force, especially with that May wall. They are not stopping the fight. They want to keep them at spawn, and it's working perfectly, Stranger. I was gonna say that, like, Squelch Sir Laptop, they're putting in a lot of work as you can't get the back cap against Jokers. This doesn't feel like a bunch of jokers. This feels like a very serious team right now.
Yeah, they are absolutely performing at this moment. They're already at 70%, which means this team fight is going to be absolutely crucial. It could even end up being the final. This good backline visor gets walled off, then absolutely eaten by Ratchet. So the shutdown on it, once again, Sir Laptop eats a hammer to the face. The Dragons comes in to split them as well. So they committed a lot just to get through this door opening, which shows you how oppressive Jokers have been. They take the fight back to the point, but they're playing at Joker's pace here, really. The wall comes up to block that bomb, so very little effect as Warrior makes their way back in. We roll up to the 97%, 99% into the overtime. So now Jokers are playing to win the fight, but a great pin from Warrior sets it back into their hands. Problem, they should be looking for the convert here. They should be able to clear the cart, but the Noon from Sweat above, keeping that pressure on, and the healing and damage output from Eggs is insane. Ratchet, what the heck is going on? Just absolute output from Jokers to just seal the match for them. Beautiful finish.
Victory.
Wow, that was very impressive to watch coming out from Ace Jokers. I mean, Squelch was very smart at this very early part of that fight. They froze up D.Va. The second D.Va was froze, they threw the Blizzard down so it doesn't get eaten by the defense matrix. And then that led to just not kills, but a slow, staggered out fight, which then led to Eggs with Legs getting their ult, being able to pop that, to the Deadeye getting so much value, you know. When the team is so sort of ruined by a blizzard, everyone else can perform to a T, and so that's exactly what happened for the Ace Jokers right there. And so far, even though this is the problem, they didn't win that map. They are looking strong as well. Both sides looking really good, but Jokers just taking it to that next level. And got to give credit to people like Eggs with Legs. They're building up their coalescence so quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Like Sir Laptop getting shatters really quickly as well. It's been very, very impressive to see so far.
and high value ults as well. They're not, they're not just getting them quick, they're making use of them, which is just doing really good. Man, it feels a bit like we're playing at Joker's pace. They're setting the pace of the fight the way they want it. That Mei is giving them a lot of power in terms of like, no, we're going at my speed. The team is playing really well together. Laptop's obviously got great communication with the rest of the squad because they're not overextending too much. And when they do overextend, it's the whole squad going in. So it feels like Jokers have really good comms going on. So we'll see if they can carry that into Blizzard World, which is our second map, of course, for the night.
Yeah, Blizzard World, a bit of a change up here. Obviously, you've got a bit more availability of that poke comp. We might see Strange go back onto the Sigma that we saw a little bit earlier. We might see some Widows come out. We might see some long range sort of defensive holds with Hanzo, Ashe, all that sort of thing. Meanwhile, we might see what we saw in the previous game where it's just rush over, push through these pathways, going in behind them or pushing directly to the left and run over the defense. So there's a lot of options coming through. We might see more dive because both teams really like the Winston, but so far, like you said, if Jokers can keep up setting the pace and making this is the problem, have to run at their pace, that will be the problem for This Is the Problem, that they have to try and keep up with how fast Jokers are going.
Sounds like this is the problem.
It definitely sounds like that's the problem right now. The other problem might just be Blizzard World. Who knows?
It could very well be the map. We can't write them off just yet. But I feel like there's a lot of weight on players like LEY's shoulders to hit those shots, like especially on the Hanzo. When they do pop off, it's like really good. Then they have full control of the fight once again. But you have to do that every fight, which makes it a lot harder to do. And it's quite difficult to be really consistent with those kind of heroes.
That's why I don't like playing DPS in Overwatch, because you have to be consistent. If you play Widow and get 3 headshots in a match and it looks real fancy, that's great. But then all the other fights that you've lost because you haven't been getting those headshots, why are you on Widow? So absolutely, consistency is key. And LEY is showing us that they definitely can play aggressively, and they definitely can bring that pressure. If they keep it up and LEY gets those headshots and picks, they will be able to do a really solid hold. Meanwhile, as on the Soldier is just consistently damaged, getting punched out. So if they bring that through, they'll be able to really put a lot of pressure on the attack coming through by Ace Jokers, because realistically, you've got enough points that you can throw damage at Ace Jokers and slow down their push to burn off this time bank. However, LEY's on the Soldier, as is on the Reaper here. We do see Strange opting for Sigma. Looks like a bit of a poke comp with the Reaper to stop that dive from Sir Laptop. So this is quite a smart comp choice. It's going to put a lot to the shoulders of LEY once again, because Squelch is on Echo, so LEY's going to have to sort of focus down Echo and Bees. But the double shield comp could be exactly what they need to potentially bring quite a solid defense.
Yeah, Horus as well could be there to help LEY a little bit with that. That extra bit of damage from the bat can really turn the tables as well. So it's not too bad for LEY's having to do all the work to get rid of Squelch. So I think that they have like you say, a really solid comp to hold this off.
Yeah, meanwhile, Sir Laptop, Ratchet, they're just going to push right down main, try find where the team is, and when you see them all the way down the back, you can kind of just go wherever you want, and where they want to go is into the safety of indoors. Who likes to go outside anyway? It's scary out there. It's too hot, it's too bright, the sun's in your eyes. Stay indoors, everyone. That's my moral of the story.
I don't know if we should be telling people to do that. They jump onto the point nonetheless. So Laptop quickly dealt to by Azrael, as we expected. The Reaper putting a lot of pressure on them as Strange follows up with that. And so we see already the point held would get the backup from Jokers. They're not going to deal with that whatsoever.
All I'm saying is Sir Laptop went outside and got taken out very quickly. So, but no, that was an unfortunate. Sir Laptop dived in a bit too deep, and everyone responded to that dive very quickly, making sure that Sir Laptop wouldn't get any sort of peel or follow-up. And Sir Laptop got taken out quickly, and you immediately just say, okay, let's reset, let's not do that again. This time, it looks like they might be opting to do a bit more of a combined dive as they're just thinking about what their strategy will be before jumping in.
Yeah, this is going to be all about them just finding the crack in the barrier. You know, it's and they're not making it easy for them either. This is going to be really about good timing, and they're building up those ults slowly as well. But they got to be careful that the defense doesn't get in it too early. There's the nano onto Sir Laptop so that they don't fall quickly once again, as LEY does take out Sweat. Strange following up the damage, and nonetheless Sir Laptop does go down. This is a really strong defensive hold.
Yeah, that was such a good gravitic flux because Sir Laptop went in so deep that the backline could just get picked up, fluxed, and then LEY was free to just burn them down while they're in the sky. Strange finishing off those last few stragglers. And then they were able to respond to Sir Laptop once again all alone. So that flux was really good to, once again, just stop any peel that was going to be there to help Sir Laptop. And because of that now, they are feeling a little bit of pressure. A minute 40, that's pretty much probably 2, maybe 3 team fights to try and bring something to the table. And so far, all they really have is a duplicate, but they nearly have Pulse Bomb as well. But 5 ults for the side of This Is the Problem.
And that's crazy because they've just held off these last pushes with barely any ult use. So much committed all at once, but still no picks just yet. The barriers and the buffs going up get taken down. Ratchet does find an entry here onto a healer as well, so this could be their opportunity to break through. They get rid of the Reaper, which means Sir Laptop a little bit more free to play willing as they wish, looking to put that pressure down onto that DPS line, but LEY just walks into the bubble and says, not quite gonna go your way there, mate, and drops them quickly. Bees with the res on Laptop to bring them back in as Ratchet drops a bomb from the sky that cleans up both the tank lines and turns this fight back into their favor.
Man, these bombs have been so interesting to see getting placed on like those sort of diagonal angles there, the wee little rooftops, so it just sits there and slowly slides down, so they're not expecting it to come from above them, and when it does explode above them, it gets those pips. The positioning of pulse bombs is such an important thing that divas sometimes, at least at my level, don't think about. They just throw them out. But if you throw them onto a high ground position like that, you're going to get so much more value. You can't quite block something that's above you as easily as you can just hide around a corner. So Ratchet putting in smart work to confirm that point.
Interesting, strong play as well from Jokers here as they take that high ground, and they don't drop down or anything. They just keep the poke going from above, taking up as much space as possible. Keeping Warwick taking out the mech there as well. So we see an aggressive ult from Sir Laptop right in that back line. The disruption, just maximizing that as much as possible. They do fall, but it doesn't matter when you're just pushing that cart so far.
I don't know if you saw it, but Strange essentially won them that defense that they're currently sort of slowly winning, except with Az sleeping on point and getting completely removed. But Strange managed to eat a pulse bomb with his grasp there, his kinetic grasp, I believe it's called. And that made the aggression have to slow down because the pulse bomb did no damage at all. And now with that gravitic flux, they might be able to win this defense.
Azrael putting in some work as well. They use a good couple of ults here on the defensive side. 2 levels of damage buff there. And LEY rarely makes great use of it with the visor, but they committed a lot into the hold.
Yeah, that was pretty much everything. There was the Death Blossom, there was the Tac Visor, Amplification Matrix, Valkyrie, Supercharger, and at the start of that fight, there was a Gravitic Flux. So, yeah, pretty much everything got committed there. But on the other side, if we look over to Ace Jokers, there's 3 ults available. There's the Pulse Bomb coming up shortly, there's the Duplicate, and there's another Self-Destruct. With Ratchet has been showing us they're very good with the Self-Destruct. So Jokers can get aggressive.
They take that high ground once again. You see the clone going out. Squelch clones the Mercy, which is interesting. Get that extra healing output. Ratchet drops a bomb in a unique spot, but doesn't quite catch anyone. It doesn't matter. The rest of the team has put the damage out. Pulse Bomb finds the 2, and it looks like they clean the field.
Didn't eat up that pulse bomb this time, Strange, unfortunately. But hey, 30 seconds on the board. They're able to get back, and they finally built up almost enough for a attack visor. They might be able to build up a gravitic flux as well. So they're still able to potentially hold this on the street phase if they just get aggressive and find a couple of quick picks. And that's a huge pick from LEY.
Ooh, healing reduced. The mech's gone as well. Man, Jokers are looking like they're on a bad foot here. They're going to have to do something major to switch this back into their favor as we get another window up. LEY is keeping the pressure on. Squelch has found one, but Laptop falls, so the barrier's gone. This overtime trickles quickly. They have to be careful. They have to play on the point, which means Warrior can just swing away and keep the pressure on that objective as much as they want. Another barrier's on. Squelch, again, forced to go in close, so gets picked up by the swing, and Warrior's got to have a free golf match on the objective to hold the point.
You picked up on pretty much what's really important about payload maps and having a Reinhardt for defense. Once it gets to that overtime position, if you're Reinhardt, you just have to swing on payload and make sure that they're not touching it anymore. If you're swinging, they'll be in the vicinity of your hammer and they will feel your damage. So a Reinhardt on defense with payloads can be so important just because you can essentially win a whole fight by just swinging your hammer. And that's what we saw Warrior do there, just to make sure that that payload would not go through to third point. On top of that, LEY put in a lot of work. They didn't even need to use the attack visor. They just got kills with their pure mechanical skill. So because of that, they had the attack visor, but they didn't use it. And when they got taken out, it didn't really matter because they had gotten enough picks in of themselves to confirm that fight and give Warrior and Strange enough room to just put the pressure on payload. Now, for Ace Jokers, they're going to have to play this defense very, very well. They're going to have to really burn down the time bank on this first point, as well as make sure they don't push all the way to the end of second point of Streets phase of Blizzard World. So it is going to be hard for Ace Jokers. It's not impossible, but it's going to be difficult. Meanwhile, this is the problem. All they want to do is run them over and burn them down. Obviously opting for Reinhardt and Sigma once again, which they showed us they can play phenomenally well. The only change-up really is Az is now on Pharah, their favorite character. So Az can pump in a lot of damage and poop them off the high ground if they need to.
Yeah, pressure's on to Sweat there to keep that from being too oppressive. But again, this team's really good at moving Jokers. They're using that speed boost to rotate around. And as long as they can keep that working to their advantage, they'll be pretty strong on that defense. But they have to be careful of the Pharah, and they're playing at range here, not committing too much just yet. There's Sweat pumping it out and manages to pick up the kill they need, so the res will have to be committed to that. Down goes Sir Laptop, eating a boulder to the chin. So no shield on the front line. You can see how that's already really putting a damper on this hold for Jokers as they have nothing to give them. A barrier of sorts. Squelch is the last there to do something with it. Gets rid of Warrior, but there's a whole team remaining and that won't be enough for them.
Yeah, that boulder won them the fight. When Sir Laptop fell to Strange, that essentially unlocked the fight because they rezzed Az back into it, and Pharah was able to just pump from above without really having anything to stop them. But Sweat is going to stop them now on Widow. Very smart swap to make sure Pharah pretty much immediately swaps off. They do want to use their ultimate, however, they want to get the Rocket Barrage, but that Shatter stops you at your front door.
Laptop's quick to the trigger on that one, and they clean up pretty nicely. It's going to buy them plenty of time for this push.
Yeah, Az finally has the Rocket Barrage. We'll see whether they can get it off without just getting immediately wiped. But there's a Shatter, there's a Flux, there's an Attack Visor, there's an Amplification Matrix, and Valkyrie's not far behind. So this is the problem, is looking pretty in the ultimate department.
Still a lot of poke there from Az. They need to find that opening and not waste too much time, because like we're saying, a switch would probably benefit them a lot. They just got to find the right timing, and it's really hard because Jokers is playing a super good offensive here on this opening. We see the Gravitic Flux come through, but the Dragon's already coming through. Beat drop from Bees means nobody has to worry about it. And actually, Lori gets picked up by the dragon, so they force to use the res here, which means that Shadow's got to come down soon. There it is. Great play. The barrage is used, but not too much effect. Doesn't matter. Keyboard Warrior has done really, really good here on the front line. They did have to commit the old window there to the fight as well, but it's done the work that it needed to.
It's a lot of ultimates used though, and they're still running this Pharah, which is surprising me. I guess they won the team fight, so they just want to throw the damage out there, but all they have left is Tac Visor, and they've still got a fair way to push it. Self-destruct, Nano, we could see Sir Laptop get the Nano and just get pure aggressive onto Strange, or Sir Laptop might just get aggressive anyway.
Oh, Sir Laptop with another good shatter. Immortality Field has that sustain on Warrior though, so they're still looking pretty. Oh, Nano onto the old Lucios. Bees not getting too aggressive with it, knows not to be silly about it. There must have been an accident surely. So it still is enough for them to push them back just a little bit.
It's never an accident to bring a boostio onto the field. Let's be honest here. That was 100% intentional, surely. But no, absolutely. That was a very good defense, and I think it was just a great shatter from Sir Laptop to put the pressure on. Keyboard Warrior now has to bring the pressure, but they get taken out so quickly.
Sweat gets up close looking for the Widow shot, but actually gets traded out by Laurie there. The rest of the team has done really good. Squelch has just absolutely held up that front line.
As has finally gone onto the Cassidy here, and already 50% to their Deadeye, so that's good to see. They just need to really use the 6 ultimates that are about to come on board effectively, and if we've seen anything from This Is the Problem, they know how to throw all their ultimates onto the board and say, hey, let's see what happens. So they're gonna slow push it. They're being super sneaky. You know, it's that classic TikTok of don't be suspicious, don't be. And I won't do more just in case we get DMCA'd or something like that. I don't know. But that application matrix immediately removes Sweat.
The Fire Strike plus the extra shot damage did a lot there. Laurie's looking for another. Does manage to get the third, but Sir Laptop just drops the heat down. Are they going to be able to clean up the rest, though? It's a lot of pressure onto one old man's shoulders, and it won't quite go their way.
Now, speaking of old man's shoulders, I think the win comes down to Strange trying to flux the remaining people, trying to stall it out off point before they can even touch here. This flux could win them the game. There it is, and that's what it's going to do. Just allow them to completely stop anyone from touching. Very, very fun to see, and that was a good match for This Is the Problem. They certainly knew how to play Blizzard World, so it makes sense that they chose that map.
Wow, yeah, the rock plus the gravitic flux to just stop it all. Warrior showing their prowess. Really good tank play there from that side. I think that they held up that match for the team almost certainly.
That was glorious to just watch the charge through with the rocket barrage behind them. It was glorious. That was so good. That was very fun to see. Quality match coming through and showing us that both these teams are very sort of good at what they want to run. Obviously, the Jokers, they were able to set the pace on the control map, especially on those second 2 points. But then This Is the Problem sort of just unlocked a whole new level of Overwatch playing there for themselves. Managed to play Blizzard World very well. Good defensive holds. And then just able to execute very, very strong ultimate building and then throwing all the ultimates out. So very fun to watch. Now, Ace Jokers, they're going to have to choose between, I believe it was Rialto and I'm going to store Havana. There we go. So I'm not too sure where they'd want to take it. Probably Havana. They do just say Havana. So it sounds like we're going to go to Havana. Do you think that's going to be the right map choice for Ace Jokers?
I think they seem to be benefiting a lot from being able to move, being able to change their positioning up how they need. When they get stuck in that, single point defensive, they're having a harder time. So potentially this map will give them that flexibility with that kind of thing, that there's a lot of rotation in Havana where you can just, take an alternate route or find yourself in a high ground because you went off on a different path. So I think for them, yeah, this makes sense that they have that ability to adjust as they need to and play a little bit more mind games and that kind of thing with them.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a really smart take, Very good at their rotation. So if they play it smartly, get out and just reset and do another team fight, they could win this very, very well. Meanwhile, this is the problem. They did show us their Reinhardt Sigma style works so well. So they
Mm.
could still be able to make it work on Havana here because realistically, Havana is fine to run a Reinhardt. It's fine to run a Sigma. You can see a little bit of dive, but there's not as much high ground. So, um, I don't know. I think this could really go either way, and I think we might see both teams, potentially do quite a bit of an upfront defense and just make sure that the point and the payload and the time bank is slowed down.
I think it was interesting as well. We talked earlier about how LEY had a lot of weight on their shoulders, the Hanzo, to try hit shots, and then they played Soldier that last map, and we saw that consistency and how that kind of made quite a bit of difference. So now we see them, I guess, bring out both to the table, so they have both those options. But yeah, it was just interesting to see, with a little bit more consistency, that they looked quite a bit stronger.
Yeah, this is so much poke coming out from this is the problem. It's gonna be hard to push down for Sdoggas. They've got some ways they can go. They can obviously go out of spawn to the left through the first building, through the voila building, I'll call it, because I don't want to say the rest because I'll butcher it. But yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a way they can push it, but it's going to be hard with how much poke and pressure is going to come through down the straight sight line. Hanzo, Soldier, Orisa, Sigma, so much damage.
They are going to poke away as you expected. Just around that corner. The Jokers aren't having too much of it. They're playing on that cart nice and defensive and taking that high ground here from Ratchet. Just really pushes them back that little bit extra to keep that pressure on and say, look, we're not going to allow you to play right up close with us until we want to engage. So as we expected, they jump in when they want to, playing it at their timing. LEY hits a great shot. Squelch, though, jumps into that back line to finish off. Strange trading them out of the fight, but this cart continues to roll.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to have to see a couple more picks come through if the defense want to hold this, because currently both spawns are essentially at the same spot. So now with Sweat getting taken out by Az, this could open up the defense to win this fight. So Latcom is going to get aggressive though.
That's a great little boot from Bees. Just displaced most of the team off the objective. It's actually unfortunate for them that there was one more on the cart, because that might have just given them that little bit extra space they needed. A great visor here has cleaned the field, and a super late kill onto Ratchet buys them that extra time.
Yeah, that was really good, just sort of playing it safe, waiting it out until that first pick came through. Once Sweat was taken out, Az, Strange, LEY, they all knew they could start getting aggressive. So they started to bring a little bit of pressure in, because Panda got back just on time. They had the heals to put in the pressure. So really smart, just playing it slow, playing it safe until they knew it was time to initiate.
There we go. Playing on their terms once again. Ace Joker's moving in. They got the Moira ult at their back this time for a little bit more sustain. We do see the Gravitic Flux come up, and they drop them right onto the face of the Dragons, so Bees will get removed with the healing slightly taken out. The team is split in half, and so they have to back here. That didn't quite go to plan.
Yeah, the Flux was huge right there. That certainly made sure that, they were just able to hold that defense really well. Threw them down, lots of damage, and then it's super easy to clean up a Flux if you know what you're doing, and this is the problem, is showing us that they know what they're doing.
Nice little offline play here from the side. They're getting used to them playing through this room, so trying to go for that earlier poke for a bit there, just to get some ult built up. The window committed even, as we see the side flank. Squelch is going to be really careful that they don't get picked up there alone. Joker's just waiting out that window, as you'd expect. Really good timing. That's great team play. Time to move in. They commit the ult here This is the problem with get that extra damage output. It will fall, but not before they find the pickup on Sir Laptop. So taking a bit of that dive pressure away, B's continuing to make that cart roll on. We get the huge Diva Bomb to the back line. It flicks its way over the shield and finds two. So now Warriors alone at that point. Another Moira ult. Just make sure that there's no one else hanging around that boot. Make sure they hit this point as well.
Ratchet coming through with, once again, another really solid Diva Bomb that is just going to confirm that fight. I really did think that this is the problem that's going to win that defense, because Laurie immediately shut down Sweat. The second Sweat came out, Storm Arrows came out, and that was huge. But then the bomb came out, and realistically, Bees was the reason that bomb got value. Bees managed to boot them into it. So Ratchet's big bomb can actually be given to Bees.
Bees just taking all of the clout there in the end. Great answering here to the attack, though, as they shut down with a couple of kills. This cart will continue to roll, but not before the team make their way up, and Eggs making their great escape.
That was a solid Tac Visor. I don't know what else to say, as Tac Vising at the perfect moment to get a couple of picks. Team is pure aggression. This is the problem, work well together, and it seems like they're getting a little bit better at their ultimate cycling as well. So that's really good to see.
Now we see us rolling down to that 2 minutes. I do love that Jokers play around their own timing. They're not rushing in. They're actually doing a little bit of testing to try and see if they can get some ults used, committed to it. There's another flux down into the Dragons. They're really good at getting that one off, and it takes Bees out. But Laurie's popped with the normal shots as well to take Squelch. So Jokers, again, a bit of a fractured side with this push. They're quite split. Eggs coming in with the really aggressive ult, but gets hit with the rock, so that's turned off nice and quick as Sir Laptop keeps that front line strong. Warriors just walking on through, though, and just taking out this tank line. Stalling here as well to take Ratchet late. This is just really good time burner for them.
It's so interesting to see how Warrior changes from when Panda is just normal Mercy to when Panda is Valk Mercy, because the second Valk came out, Warrior just said, hey, I don't need a shield anymore. I am swinging. I know Panda will keep me alive. And so that confirmed 3 kills for Warrior, and with the help of Strange getting 1 more, that was a gigantic play and a solid defense. Now burning them down to 50 seconds left.
Another attempt at the big Diva Bomb goes higher. Metality's got the protection. Squelch does find a gap in that, though. And Panda's taken out in the back line too, so the healing is just absolutely destroyed. There's 2 tanks left standing, and they're getting absolutely bullied out of it. Strange doesn't want anything to do with it. They're just walking away.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, mainly just so I can maybe get 1 more fight left here, but also because I don't want to get taken out. The less deaths, the nicer. Now Strange is ready. There's a Shadow on board. There's a Tac Visor. There's a Dragon Strike. They might be able to push them off point enough to just confirm a couple of kills, but with Strange down early, it's going to be hard.
This Visor would have been strong if that sound barrier didn't come up and just absolutely block it out. So now Warrior last man standing at the point with only a meter remaining. They will find themselves onto the second point and onto the third they want to go.
That was devastating if this is the problem. Squelch got 2 huge picks at the start, then as committed the Tac Visor but got immediately responded to and just blocked off. And Laurie popped the Dragon Strike but got eaten by Ratchet. Now we are seeing Jokers get real aggressive. A little bit of a good response from Az, but it's just making space so they can make it around this first corner.
Getting rid of Horus there as well does reduce their healing, so they can't get too aggressive. A good shatter through, finds Sir Laptop. Squelch is absolutely decimated as well. And so Jokers, they actually have lost their pacing here.
Yeah, Strange is getting quite up close and personal. Usually on this defense, you always just end up playing around that corner, but they obviously felt the payload was enough for them to go up a bit more. Now it's going to be a hard push because there's so much sight lines here on point, but Nano Monkey into your back line.
They get super aggressive again. Oh, the headshot on Strange shuts down the gravitic flux. No, Sir Laptop, please. Falls off the map with their ult. Oh, you hate to see it, but they did manage to get some damage output here, Jokers, and they want to keep it rolling.
Man, that was unfortunate for Sir Laptop, but Sweat is going to be the one that's going to try put in all the work for Ace Jokers right now. They want to push this as far as possible, and so far they just managed to get it over the bridge. How much further can they push it? If it comes down to Keyboard Warrior, he doesn't want it very far.
Diva Bomb is blocked out and Metallity's there, but Azrael's on that high ground. Looking to visor out a great defensive jump up from Ratchet to just block a lot of it out. The window comes up too, but Dragon splits them from this cart. The late second jump on from Bees and team manages to get them back in it, and somehow Bees doing what they do best, stalling away and surviving through what they shouldn't. Strange is keeping that cart from moving. Building that ult, and they get the crunch back down, but Sweat with the shot at the final moment sneaks it out before the rematch can happen. Sweat's just really coming super clutch here with some really huge pickups. Azrael forced to jump on that high ground down onto the subjective. Another great sound barrier from Bees really gives them the sustain and healing they need to keep this fight rolling, as Warrior does a lot to stay alive, goes for the shatter but gets killed before they can get it off, and Laurie will fall as well. This is really a slow but surely victory for this team. They just cannot quite get rid of the final stragglers. The blade will even be committed here to just clean up the final few in this overtime, and they walk this cart up. Warriors now in for the stall if they can, but there's not much left in the tank there.
Wow, that was, I mean, honestly, that was really good from Ace Jokers, because even though it was staggered out for a long time, they were constantly getting the kills. That is so key in a fight like that. Very often, when staggering happens like that, the kills slow down. The kills start to not come through because people start to get a little bit tired. They can't seem to get those final few shots and land those last few shots. But Ace Jokers continue to take them out one by one by one to ensure that that wouldn't happen, that they would be able to cap point without any time bank in overtime. But at least they did get the cap. So that's really important and really crucial, especially on a map like Havana, where if you get the cap, you get a minute no matter what happens here. So really good to see them pushing through that last few seconds to get the cap. And now it's going to come down to how solidly this is the problem, going to push.
Yeah, they really need to get that full push in a decent time frame to make this really comfortable, but I think that getting it all the way really puts the bar right at the max there for Jokers. They worked really hard for it too, so I can't see this one being a cakewalk. Are they also going to be cheeky here with the early push?
It looks like it. They want to play this up close and personal defense here. So yeah, they're getting right up to Keyboard Warrior, and they feel the full force of a Mayweather behind them.
Great shot though from Laurie, takes Bees out, so they might be clever here to back up a little bit, but I don't think they're interested in that at all. Azrael goes in for the back line and Eggs gets taken out. They do manage a great shot from the May of all people to take the Pharah out of the skies, but Sweat's keeping it strong in the front. They do eat a fire strike to the back of the head there before they can make the great escape, and Laptop and the rest of the squad have actually managed to back up.
Yeah, Laurie and has really put in a lot of work to make sure that that up-close defense got no value. Laurie now putting in even more work to make sure they can't even come through to get a second fight.
Damn, Laurie's been keeping Bees down and out of that fight, keeping that pressure on. They can walk this cart quite far, and they're only down to 3 minutes, you know? They barely spent any time at all.
Sweat even going to the Widow just to make sure they can put some pressure onto Laurie here, and they do have a good flank, so they might be able to get some picks, but the Dragon Strike, once again, just slowing down anyone being able to touch. Blizzard now coming out.
They're lucky they snuck through that Dragon there to get onto this point. I thought that split them really well, but unfortunately didn't have the value that they wanted. Bees getting off that Lucia, you see, was not quite happy with eating an arrow to the head every 2 seconds, so up comes the barrier to give them a bit more safety, and we see Warrior keeping that strength on point going. Squelch committing the May wall there just to really put the pressure onto Warrior, but as soon as it comes down, Warrior meets them, and the team are looking so strong on this attack.
Yeah, this is the problem. Are looking very dominant right now, but they need to get a couple more picks and confirm the point capture. Can they do it? Not when Keyboard Warrior goes down.
mid ult as well, so they're going to be wanting that one back late. Strange keeping that pressure on though, and you love them using the ult to just almost touch that point. 0.25, it was so close. They have found some good kills here though. Laurie's popped off and beaten the sniper fight onto Sweat. 0.25, they just need to touch it for a moment. And they're not being left to it though.
Oh my gosh, yeah, if Laurie was maybe touching that instead of going in aggressive, they might have been able to cap that. And now with Ratchet just confirming that last little bit there, this could be a solid defense coming through by AOESports now, as there's only a minute 20 left to try and push all the way up.
And they burnt a lot of time on that fight, and you really would have wanted to win it after that huge investment. Window comes up, Laurie with the early kill onto Sweat, so they have that sniper advantage. Using this window to great effect too. Diva Bomb right to the back. There's a barrier though from Warrior to keep the team good. Bees has to play on that point, but it's getting pretty tough to brawl along these double tanks. Laptop's done one with the ult there. Laurie's gone, so that arrow removed from the fight, and now they're looking really strong, Jokers. It's the back off, and only a minute remains. Warrior, are they going to get out? They will not be allowed to escape.
Oh man, this is getting stressful now. If you are, this is the problem. They need to ask themselves, what is the problem? Because they're looking good. They're opening up these first few fights. They're finding the picks, but then they can't follow through. You know, Strange and Laurie, they're getting really good early picks, but they just can't finish off the remaining stragglers. Goat just hiding around a corner. Will they be able to take out Az? It looks like it.
Laptop jumping on that same attack, so good coordination nets them the early kill and gives them a great advantage. The res does land off. Warrior with a great shatter. The pressure's on. Pin onto both the tanks. A great gravitic flux just picks the whole squad up, and the Dragons rains through the back line of them as they try to retreat. They get picked up by it, so Ratchet's had a terrible time, and a good couple of ults here has put them in a really good spot. So Laptop commits the ult just to gain that extra bit of health, but it's not lasting them too long. They contest in the final moments, but I don't think they've got what it takes to hold it all the way.
Just in the nick of time, that Flux and that Dragon Strike made sure they get the cap and keep themselves alive. And Havana so far, this is the problem. Just putting in so much work and putting a lot of their hope and dreams into Laurie and Strange's shoulders right now. So, I mean, AOESports are putting the pressure onto this is the problem. They're really making it hard. Hopefully now, going through the second point, this is the problem, might be a little bit more dominant. You know, these close quarters, Hanzo, Sigma, they can put in a lot of work. And if they keep being as consistent as they have been, they might be able to push through quite cleanly.
The Jokers need to win this fight to really make it feel a little more comfortable. Another window to go up, and that Fire Strike just eats eggs alive. So they're out of the battle. The healing reduced for Joker's side. You see Ratchet get demeched because of that slightly reduced healing, and that puts so much pressure on Bees to keep them up, and that's just not sustainable. Squelch now playing to that point as much as they can with Sweat there, but they just haven't found the picks they needed to win the battle.
Yeah, they tried to go dive some of the backline, but with both DPS leaving and allowing the tanks and supports to just get run over, it is going to lead, and this is the problem winning here. So Laptop's going to get aggressive onto Az. Can they win it? Not when they're shattered on the ground.
The good shatter, but the Diva Bomb in the back gets rid of a healer. Lots of kills found still. Can this blade make the difference? It will not. Laurie's absolutely smacked out the shots they needed. Now, Sweat needs to find the finishing pickup. Just twist the fate here for these two tanks that just seem to be able to do whatever they want. They're just invincible. Touches onto the point, but gets picked up because of the close range fight. So Laptop takes out the huge threat, but those two tanks remain, and they keep that pressure on.
Only 2 minutes to push through last phase of Havana. That is not much time, especially if you lose one team fight. You're gonna have a long way to walk here now, so they're gonna have to get really aggressive and make quite a bit of space to allow this payload a bit of freedom here. And I mean, I think they're gonna have to find picks very quickly. If you're Strange, if you're Laurie, if you're Az, you have to put on a lot of pressure right now, and it's gonna be hard.
You see them attempting to pick up Laptop, but the healing is good for that sustain. Time for Jokers to move in. They want to play at their own pace. As usual, Sir Laptop with a good jump in. Have they got the dive follow-up? There's a great kill onto the support. Another Gravitic Flux down to the Dragons. This is a great strat for them, and it just seems to be enough for them to win these fights out. The Res bringing them back to a full squad.
Oh, man. Really playing perfectly right now. Not allowing anyone to slip up on this is the problem here. This is really good to see, especially now they managed to get through this first archway, pushing the payload to the last point. Now it is just going to come down to how long can we stall, burn off overtime, maybe long enough to confirm a couple of picks and win the stall. And with Sweat popping off, they might be able to do it.
Warrior hits a great shatter, but the follow-up wasn't there. Sweat's put too much pressure on. Now they're in this awkward timing of waiting for that tank, but they also have to kind of play towards this objective.
Man, this has been really good stuff for this is the problem, but now Ace Jokers finally picking up their pants, you know, making sure they're ready to put on the pressure, and Sweat is doing it on a beautiful off angle. Nobody knows how to get into a position where Sweat's getting pressured, and because of that, they're getting those crucial picks. Aureus gets booped away from their ults. This is crazy.
Man, Sweat might have just made all the difference. Great backline. Diva Bomb finds the picks they want. Rally from Bees gives them so much sustain. Warrior's going to have a hard time keeping themselves going. And now the nano boosted Brig is just terrifying in any case. And you can just see the pressure that puts on. They struggle even to walk their way to the objective. And that is just such a good hold in the final moments. Jokers. Whew.
Such a back and forth even sort of matchup between these two teams. It's very impressive to see here. But Sweat, you were so right. Sweat was absolutely critical on this defense here, just coming through, making sure that they were getting the crucial picks, and there it is, especially on that attack right there. Very fun to watch. And I mean, Sweat just having the knowledge to go on those off angles as well. It's been phenomenal to watch this Widow play on third point. Very smart plays. But Laurie, Strange, S, I can't say it enough. They're putting in the work for this is the problem to keep pushing through. It's very intense Overwatch right now. Very back and forth. Now, this is the problem, is going to have to choose whether they want to do a hybrid push or another payload map. And I personally think Numbani is probably the way to go for this is the problem. But sounds like they're going to Rialto.
Of course, as soon as you offer an option, they pick the
Yeah.
opposite. Classic stuff. But yeah, I guess, I don't know. I'm so interested that Sweat decided so late to go to the Widow. I mean, I guess it is quite preferable to do it on that final part of it, but they were just struggling for quite a while there on that second objective, and even at the a bit at the beginning. So it was a lot of pressure on Laurie, I think, to win out that sniper duel. And if you just can't do that, then Sweat gets a lot of free reign. Maybe that's where, you know, Keyboard Warrior or Strange have to try and adapt to that, and maybe have some form of dive to put the pressure on. But Sweat, I'll give them this: they're playing that Widow well in the way that they're positioning it really well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sweat was a monster there. But also, we got to give it to Bees as well. That rally was really good to keep, like you said, the sustain alive. And then the raid boss, the nano onto Bees as well. Scary stuff. So Ace Jokers working together well. I mean, Sir Laptop's jumping off the map, but the rest of them working really well. Sorry, Sir Laptop. I don't know why I said. I don't know why I just did it you there. I'm so sorry. But no, all of them working so well, phenomenally together. The dives have been really good. It's been very fun to watch both teams go head to head in this match. Now, Rialto, what do you think the play is here? Because obviously there's a lot of high ground. Ace Jokers can keep this Jokers can keep this sort of dive comp going with the Winston, with the Diva, and it does get really hard for the likes of Sigma Reinhardt to push through.
Mm.
So, what do you think the problem's mindset was in picking Rialto?
I don't know. Maybe they're willing to change up their tank line. Maybe they're considering, it's been all right, but it has obviously it didn't work and just before quite all the way, and maybe they're considering let's consider mixing it up and such. We should probably play a map that would support that. So the other thing is they could just be potentially really good at this map. Maybe this is one of those maps that they've trained through a lot, and they feel a lot more comfortable on. Also, Widow's good, but not as good on this map. It's probably a bit harder to get those line of sights going. So maybe that in that idea they have a bit of a nerf to to sweat, take some of that pressure off on those Widows plays. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell at the moment.
I sort of just had a brainwave. Nimbani is so hard for a Reinhardt to push, especially on attack. So I just thought probably Rialto is the better of two evils. It might even be the answer there because yeah, no, definitely Nimbani. I don't even know why I said they'll probably go Nimbani. Yeah, Nimbani is rough for a Reinhardt to push. It's midnight here, guys. We're feeling it a bit over all the way in old New Zealand here. Um, but definitely, I think now thinking about it deeper, Rialto probably is the smarter choice. They might be able. Hopefully, they do have some team comp swaps that they run. I mean,
Yeah.
Azrael even they showed us that they can run Farah. So we might see some
Mm,
pharmacy.
mm.
Pharmacy can reign supreme in Rialto. That might require Sweat to go on Widow and feel a little bit of pressure coming through by Az.
Yeah, I guess as long as they have that tank line to adapt to sweat, um, otherwise obviously the Widow will just reign supreme against the Pharah. But yeah, if the team's willing to like adjust that up, then that will work really well for them. But man, Joker's looked really solid there, just as a team together in those final. Even though they were kind of losing, like second point for example, they obviously didn't win it, but they looked really solid and they made the problem like they made them actually work really hard just to get that objective, um, keeping them on their toes and not letting them have anything for free. So that constant pressure and burning the time means that those later points have very little time to mess with. So then they only really have to pop off like one time and then they take the win. So if Jokers keep that pressure going, it's going to be really hard for the problem. They have it all on the line here. If they lose this match, that's it. So they got to win like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have to win if they want to win. Um,
Yeah.
but
So I
no,
guess.
definitely. I'm actually surprised that this is a problem. Did even manage to push it as far as they did, but because like you
Mm,
said, Joker's had such a solid defense. And then it was only when in second point when Sweat was a feeder that they really started to struggle there. But then that Sweat went on to Widow and was an absolute carry. So apparently
yeah.
someone redeemed called Sweat a feeder. So I'm sorry, Sweat. I don't think you are. I was paid. I was paid
Oh
to say it.
boy.
I was bribed. I'm
What a cop out.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Own your words, man. Own your words.
No. I can't. I don't have thoughts. Everyone puts thoughts into my brain. I have no brain.
Oh my lord. But yeah, I think Jokers are poised to make a real statement here. So
Yeah.
I guess they will get to choose attack or defense. I think yeah, that looks like they want to go for attack. So again, Joker's setting the mark. They're really into that kind of set the template, show that they can do a full push or whatever, and then it's all about the mind game and keeping them off that hold. So we'll see how they go.
Yeah, absolutely right. If Jokers can set the pace, they seem to do really well. So it's going to be very much an uphill battle right now for this is the problem. And that's probably going to be part of the problem is it's a bit of an uphill battle, now your mental
Yeah.
state is starting to set in of like, how are we going to win this? What are we going to do? Sweat's insane. It feels impossible. It's going to be really interesting to see how they try and fight that mental state issue of, well, we're down bad right now. How do we get back?
For sure. It's a grind. And they're going to have to keep that positive mindset. Like you say, there's that mental game that's constantly playing in the background that we often forget about. So if they can make sure that they keep the side strong, I'm interested that they still want to run that, you know, Ryan Sig here. They feel very confident with that tank line.
30 seconds.
At least on the defense, it can kind of work because Sigma can poke from all sorts of angles with the sort of walls defensively sort of structured that he can bounce his shots around. But yeah, it is going to be hard, especially when Sir Laptop, Ratchet, and Squelch are all going to be trying to dive you from completely different angles here, and Sweat as well. It's going to be a rough one.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to how well they can maintain their structure. You know, if they get pulled to pieces, which is what Jokers is going to be looking for, then they'll have a hard time. But if they can keep it strong, keep them where they want them, they'll be good. Good dive in from Sir Laptop. It's a little early and just not quite with the team, so they do some great focus down and take them out. And they look like they want to push up a little bit and make some use of that space.
Oh yeah, absolutely you put the pressure on now, considering you took out Sir Laptop so quickly, but Squelch is putting the pressure on too, taking out ads. Fortunately, they do get back, and now Ace Jokers are ready to do another dive.
Balancing it back up. Great anti-nade onto both the tank line. Ratchet receives one equally. Has to be careful about not being too deep in it. Sweat did get taken, but rezzed again. These Mercies making sure that both these teams stay strong. And we already see the nano onto Laptop that just lets them play right in that opening there. Pushes the whole team back. And they're getting some great cart space here. Gravitic Flux doesn't connect. That's so unfortunate for them, and Strange is going to really be kicking themselves for that one, although the team still managed to split them and hold it for now.
Man, that was impressive how much space Sir Laptop made just by getting back, and with the help of obviously Ratchet, Squelch, and Sweat, they pushed them all the way back to the last sort of area. Fortunately, Keyboard Warrior, Strange, and Azrael were able to put enough pressure, get a couple of picks, and win that fight for the defense. It's just, how are they going to fight against the pressure that Ace Jokers are bringing in their dive?
Quite a few ults there on the defensive side, so they should look quite pretty for this fight. We do see that Visor come out to set the pace here. 2 to 4. Squelch takes out Laurie, so it's just that soldier that they got to get rid of. Now that the DPS is removed from the fight, this might be a little bit more open for Jokers. They drop the bomb through to the high ground above. It does manage to pick up Panda still, which is really good, and Warrior trying to block it off exposes their weak point there. Getting taken as Strange now on that objective, last to remain. The nano comes onto them to see if they can hold that last 0.4 of a meter. This is getting quite desperate. The Dragons drops through them. They drop another Gravitic Flux, but again, not quite landing as they would have wanted. And that last 0.4 is just not being given. They get back in. Jokers kicking themselves that they didn't quite make that as Bees gets crumpled into the pavement. And they're still pushing this pressure on.
Man, that was incredibly good nano coming through by Aureus onto Strange, and Strange was just able to stall it out enough so that, you know, Az could get back, Laurie could get back, and mainly Warrior could get back and drop the shatter right on top of their faces. Bees literally feeling the shatter right to their face. And that was such a good stall coming out by Aureus and Strange. I'm blown away. Even though the Flux didn't really get too much, it slowed down the fight enough for the rest of the team to come back. And now they're 50 seconds left.
They got the Nano Monkey right in amongst it. What an anti-nade. That just absolutely decimates the squad. Struggling to hold that now. We just see Jokers just pumping out the damage. Those tanks had very little luck there after that nade landed. Eggs keeping the pressure on once again with another one. And man, that made all the difference there. This last meter will be found, and some straggle kills will clean up the field.
Whew, they got it just in the nick of time, you know. Squelch opened it up with a really good focusing beam, and that one pick was essentially enough for the rest of Ace Jokers to completely clean up the fight there. And that's all they needed. They just needed one good pick, open up the fight, get aggressive, take out the rest of them, and win. And so that's what they've done. Now they just need to keep it consistent.
Interesting pathing here for this is the problem. They managed to pick up Sweat with a good shot. And looking for another for the Gravitic Flux. It only really gets the one. They shut them down mid-air. The laser beam decimating that tank line. And they're not able to finish that off though. Joker's backing up. They see the threat and they're like not keen on that at all as Ezreal walks up glowing.
Yeah, that's absolutely super scary. A weak nanoed Reaper coming in your face. No way am I gonna want to fight that. On top of that, you got LEY just throwing arrows in your general direction. I mean, Ratchet decided to go for a swim rather than get back to spawn. I mean, you just may as well at that point. And you get your mech back, so obviously it makes more sense logically. Now with this Dragon Strike available, beautiful shots coming out by both Az and LEY.
They managed to bring Laptop back in. Squelch trying to have some value on that cloned Ryan, but put to sleep. And so really missing out on quite a bit of the time of that. What a sidewinder to come in from Warrior, who just puts Laptop into the grave, and now Ratchet knows they have to back there. Some really good positioning from the defenses made these holds really simple.
Yeah, and also just good shots. We talked about how LEY needs to be consistent if they're going to be playing Hanzo, and they've really started to get very consistent, just making sure each fight they're getting 1 or 2 picks, especially on this defense here. So LEY putting in a lot of work once again. Now Keyboard Warrior looking for a cheeky shatter from behind.
From the high ropes they drop in, but they don't quite land the line that they wanted. Ezreal drops the ult on the point as well to pick up Laptop, who's unfortunately having a really bad time on these pushes, mostly getting picked up right at the beginning of them.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that Sir Laptop is feeling so much pressure, especially when a Reaper's on the field. Reaper's such a good response to a Winston and D.Va dive. So Az has been on point on their Reaper so far. And even if you Death Blossom onto one player, if it's Sir Laptop, that's critical because that's such a big player. Oh, Sir Laptop getting a good pick though.
Nano Mercy there to give them all the healing in the world. And plenty of defense. Ratchet remeching onto the Ana is a great way to take out a healer. And now that anti-nade once again onto Warrior. Look at the pressure that puts on. That just really makes it simple for this attacking side. Another good Gravitic Flux, and Sir Laptop beats the respawn once again, having a hard time with that. Tonight we fall into overtime here. And it's going to be one final ditch attempt to get onto this car and stop it. They managed to res their Laptop back in, so they've got a lot of strength here with the tank line as Warrior jumps in early, goes for the shadow with the nano on them, takes Ratchet out of that mech once again. Laptop eating the anti, looking for the escape, but the pickup in the back line from the DPS is clean, and the overtime is gone.
Wow, solid defense. I thought Jokers were gonna be able to push through and get that overtime cap again, but they managed to get back just in the nick of time and get a few critical picks. LEY made a really smart swap onto Soldier 76. A lot of S's in that sentence. And that definitely was crucial because they were able to just pump out consistent damage, and that's the difference between Soldier and Hanzo. You know, Soldier, even if you're not getting the picks, as long as you're landing that shot, you're doing damage. So when we know LEY can land the shots as well as they can, Soldier is so strong in their hands because that is just constant damage output, and that means that anyone on their team can feed through and get those final blows. So that's where Soldier can be very, very crucial in team fights like that.
Interesting switch ups as well on the attack here. We do get Ezreal back onto that Pharah. Like we talked about earlier, they have that flexibility, and we'll see how that kind of fares for them.
I think Pharah is a great pick at the start here, especially. You've got so many houses you can play around, and if you get above the defense and just pump through a bunch of damage, you can very easily clean sweep at least the first corner of Rialto. Obviously, once it gets past these first few corners into the open courtyard, it becomes a lot harder. There's a lot more open sight lines for Pharah, but if Ezreal plays it smart, they might be able to get a really quick push through first point.
Looking for that poke early. It does put a lot of pressure into this high ground. Squelch almost gets taken there. But the anti and the tanks, the rest of the team, have to be smart about when they drop. Keeping this high ground is pretty strong. Laptop's going in now. Great fire strike through. But there's a lot of CC there. They got to be careful. We need that backline damage from them. And Sweat is really taking a lot of pressure as they're the main counterplay to that Pharah. Another great anti-nade. This absolutely huge from Oris there. Puts so much pressure on that front line, and now the Pharah can just reign in pain as Warrior swings through.
Yeah, that was absolutely an anti-nade to unlock that fight, and with constant rockets raining from above and a Reinhardt hammer swinging in your face, it is hard to try and find any sort of semblance of defense. So the anti-nade put in the damage, and then they followed up beautifully, and that was a completely clean, uncontested first attack.
Yeah, that's a lot of speed for them. That definitely outperforms Jokers in terms of 0.1 take. So now Jokers are on the back foot. They're just trying to get out of their really horrible spawn scenario, and they're being pressured so heavily. Sweat can't even get into a place to set up to take those shots.
Ooh, Squelch getting a good shot onto Azrael. Let's see if Panda wants to go for the res. Not when their laptop is there, but the shatter is huge.
With the nano on as well, so they can keep that aggression. Laptop tried to go for the reverse spin, but they've just cleaned house here. This is insane attack.
Man, this has been absolute domination. Strange got Squelch on the high ground, and then the shatter came through the nano. There's been nothing to contest, and once again, Strange has that flux. They might be able to get to some point before they can even really contest.
Great Gravitic Flux. They drop it onto the Dragons again. It's a tried and true method. The hammer drops, but the defensive barrage there's great eggs coming in with a bit of damage of their own, but they just continue to move the subjective, and that is just one of the cleanest matches we've seen tonight.
Victory.
That was pure domination. That was incredible. And it really does seem like whatever team chooses the map right now, they have that advantage. And we sort of questioned the Rhine Sigma on Rialto, but they showed us that is a good comp to run on Rialto. Wow, that was pure domination, and with the Pharah pelting rockets, Reinhardt swinging the hammer, and then just damage coming through by Strange and Laurie, there was nothing they could do. Panda's reses were huge. Oris was able to just pump out heals and even do damage themselves because of how they were playing. Now we're going into Ilios. This is the last map. It's 2-2. We're gonna see how we go. Both teams really wanting to get this W here, bringing us to the limit. We've got to watch Ilios twice tonight, Stranger.
Yeah, I mean, I love Ilios. Probably one of my favorite maps anyway, so happy to see that once again. It's not often that you get to see all the way to a fifth map, so really good. And these two teams are really backwards and forwards, and like you say, whoever gets to pick the map. So this time neither of them get to pick, so what's going to happen here? We're going to end up with like some crazy draw or something.
Yeah, well, Joker's won. Joker's won control last time. I just realized I don't think we can get a draw.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
think
point.
unless they like somehow break the third map and they both win one map each, then we might get a draw. Maybe what would happen? We're not going to allow this, obviously, but what would happen if a team just decided to completely spawn camp another team and not capture third point if it went 1-1? I don't know what we'd do, but that would be funny to watch nonetheless. Don't get any ideas out there, please.
Anyway, one thing that will be interesting is see if Azrael brings out that Pharah once again. Obviously, very strong on most Ilios maps, although so is the Widow for Sweat. So there's a bit of a power struggle here once again in terms of the DPS line. And yeah, I mean, these guys are so tight. It's very backward and forward. Hard to tell which way this is going to go.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very back and forth here. And so let's see, Ilios, here we go. It is the final round. I think a little bit of the advantage goes to Jokers purely just because of comp second run, but starting on Ruins is absolutely going to be the value going towards the team comp that this is the problem want to run.
I think I don't know. Is Sweat gonna keep that Widow? Like that's one of the interesting ones. Looks like they are quite keen to just keep that going. So we find ourselves in that point again where if Sweat's hitting big shots, they're probably gonna take this really easily. If they're struggling and they're getting pressured quite heavily, which we see, you know, Warrior switching onto that Monkey, which can be really detrimental to the Widow, then it's gonna be a different story.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think
3, 2,
if Sweat can get some really huge picks, then this will be an easy fight. At least an easy first cap for Ace Jokers to pop off on. And it is going to be a Keyboard Warrior, not Hybrid Warrior. Keyboard Warrior on the Winston. We'll see whether they can do some good counter diving.
Interesting roll around, and they jump straight to the back onto that Widow. Like I said, Sweat not allowed to play the game, don't get to have any fun. Strange helped with that, so now they find themselves in that man advantage scenario where they can play to the objective instead. And without that extra DPS, it's going to be a lot harder for the team to keep the pressure on. Keyboard Warrior finds Bees to follow up, and this is where they can just trickle it on through.
Oh man, that was solid dives. I mean, Sculpture's is going to try and keep this fight alive. They do manage to take out Aureus because of it. So it is still a little bit back and forth, but it should be going in favor of This Is The Problem.
Good sound barrier to give them heaps of health and sustain on the point. We do see a few of the Jokers still hanging around here, but not going so great for them. You see a few kills. Mori getting ult really early because of the amount of healing required at this early stage of the match. The point is still not quite capped. We finally get it ticking over, so not too much burnt there for Jokers, but they do need to regroup now.
Yeah, and now This Is The Problem are building up that time bank. So the more quick picks they can get just to finish off this fight means the longer the respawns come in and more point percentage they get. On top of that, Azrael now has the Death Blossom. There's a Primal Rage. There's a Self-Destruct ready. Laurie is nearly at the Tech Visor. But at the same time, there's a lot of ultimates on the other side coming online too. Squelch, Sweat, and Sir Laptop all building up their ult. So it's going to be a little bit of a sort of resource fight to see who comes on top.
Really well placed Eva Bomb there, picking off Bees. Just caught on a bad angle, and now they're keeping that pressure going because they don't want to give them any space at all, as they're already rolling up to near 50%.
I think This Is The Problem might have found the key to shutting down the Joker's dive, and that is Reaper. Azrael has made it so hard for Sir Laptop to do anything, so if Azrael can keep up the Reaper here, it could be a clean sweep for them.
Like Azrael gets their own ult deflected back at them. Luckily, the rest of their side has done all the work needed, and now Jokers are pushing in with a scraggly team. It's really not enough to make this convert over.
Yeah, it seemed like even though Azrael got taken out, Laurie decided, don't worry, I'll take your spot here. I'll start popping off, and they got those final few picks they needed. So now there's a Tech Visor available and a Coalescence online for This Is The Problem. And then it's only really a pulse bomb and a sound barrier to respond to that. Oh, Coalescence is nearly online as well. There's the Coalescence from Aureus.
They know they got to commit everything into this fight. This is it, all or nothing. So on to the point they will go. The beat drop from Bees gives them all the sustain, plus the Moira also. Both supports committed. They really have to find these kills to follow up, but the Diva Bomb drops in. Sweat with a good pulse into the back line, but Azrael, as you say, continuing to keep that pressure really solid. So Laptop on the ball now rolling around, and they found a good couple of pickups to finally get this convert, but now they have to hold this all the way.
They need to keep going 99%, so they cannot make a mistake. They have to play pixel perfectly. They're not allowed to slip up at all here. Meanwhile, all that This Is The Problem needs to do is have one really clean team fight. So we're probably going to be seeing a lot of quick, sufficient dives onto one person to try and remove them from the fight quickly. And hopefully it's not going to be Sir Laptop.
Laptop switch up to ball, actually really good for the team. Another good attempted boot there from Bees to try and get them out the bubble. This time not quite lucky as earlier on. But the team is still holding pretty good. Laurie picks up Sweat, but just losing the Tracer alone is not too detrimental as long as they're careful not to lose Ratchet as well. There's Laptop's good mind placement. really puts the pressure on his bees, boops them around. The boop kills them before the mine can get the finishing touch, but the mines did a lot of work there. Man, they are earning back this percent.
Yeah, the assault by Sir Laptop onto Wrecking Ball was huge, and it's actually kind of shut down that Reaper presence that Az was having. So really smart to see, and even just placing the minefield well enough that it makes it really hard for Keyboard Warrior to play Winston. We now see them swap off to Reinhardt to try and counteract it.
Going back to the tried and true. Another good Moira ult. Just using them as soon as we get them. They're burning them up so quickly. It's really good. As we roll up to 80%. No kills found there, but Bees did have the sound barrier. That not such a great D.Va bomb. And we get another Reaper ult dropping in. Very scrappy battles these are. Ezreal comes out on top of that. But the blade into the back has just really torn the team apart.
Man, yeah, that blade was so good. It just got enough kills to stop the aggression, and now with 3 seconds left, it's going to come down to Strange to get this touch. They do manage to get on.
How the heck have Jokers managed to pull this back? They looked like they were losing it for sure, and now they're in contention to take it. The visor from Laurie. D.Va bomb into the play as well with the mines on. That D.Va bomb is absolutely immaculate to find the two. Sir Laptops also managed to pick on up with the mine of their own, so now it's just a few left remaining. The Reinhardt has not worked for them, and somehow they've pulled it all the way back.
It was literally just a huge swap from Sir Laptop, I feel. I mean, Squelch and their Tracer, which their name is slipping my mind right now. There we go, Sweat. Both swapped as well, but I mean, I feel like once Sir Laptop was on Wrecking Ball and wasn't getting shut down by Az on the Reaper anymore, it just looked so much more clean. They built up really good minefields, placed them perfectly. Sweat was getting good pulse bombs, the blade from Squelch. It just felt like hero swaps actually won them their team fight. So very impressive to see here, and they don't want to swap it up. It worked so well for them last round. They want to keep it going into Lighthouse. They want to win this 2-1.
It shows you that just being not dead part of the game is this, all that extra oppression that you get out of it, you know. So the speed gets them to this point nice and quick. Now they want to play their defensive plays. Stay on as long as they can. Don't let Warrior get too much involved. And be careful not to get picked up early, as Squelch gets a great pickup on their support. Now they're in the contention to take this early, as 2 picks there just sets them in the forward motion.
They literally relearned how to dive, I feel. They just said, look, let's play dive, but with Wrecking Ball. And
Yeah.
It's been so good to watch. Holy. Wrecking Ball went into pile drive, and then Tracer went in to do a little bit of damage, and then Genji came through with the dash to finish them off and just get a couple of little bit of extra damage, and Squelch got that kill. So good to see. Panda getting taken out early, and then it was just clean sweeping from there. Early hook onto Laptop though. This hog swap could be huge.
Yeah, they got to be very careful of that hook, especially Bees and the like. They are pressured heavily by that Wrecking Ball. Looks like quite a bit of a switch up there on This Is the Problem side. They're also looking to change things up. Huge anti-nade onto Squelch, and the Wrecking Ball's not having such a great time with it either, as the Hog can now roll in. Squelch still managed to come out on top there, finding their second out of it too, and the convert attempt started. The crush down on Ezreal. Oh, beautiful positioning. Allows them to just pull off these cheeky moves, and it puts them on the back foot there. Jokers keep it in their hands for now.
Wow, I really thought that was going to, This Is the Problem. They look so good. They were getting some really good early picks, but then Ratchet pulled it out of nowhere with the remake kill and just finishing off the remaining stragglers. Ratchet's so good in this D.Va. No wonder they're the one character that is not swapping off right now. Pulse bomb by Sweat takes the bells out.
Sweat giving us a little bit of comedic value as the mines drop again. Ezreal with the noon, but eats a blade in exchange, which ends up with the 3. Gets booped out by Strange, but Sir Laptop's done some follow-up there. And 80% now. They're pretty much ready to take this.
Oh my gosh, that blade was nasty. Even though they were down and out, Squelch pulled out the hero blade to clean up the fight. Strange now just trying to stay alive so the rest of the team can group up. It is the last seconds to get this cat.
They have got Strange on point, so not too much of a worry. The Dragons committed Bees falls, which is not great for Jokers. They haven't got that extra healing, but they've got plenty of ult power here to throw at it. Can they keep this in their hands? The convert starting. A great minefield amongst the whole lot there. Strange will pick up 2 out of that. And the team will get the convert at 99. Are we going to see 0.1 repeated?
Who knows, honestly. This has been insane back and forth here. I mean, yeah, really good minefield placed, but a lot of ults committed. That was essentially a win because of ultimates, which if the side of Ace Jokers can just be consistently good at their team fights, they won't need the ults to win the fight. So I still think this is in the favor of Jokers right now. They just need to do a really good, quick, executed dive and fight.
Yeah, one good team battle from them, and a couple of pickups will make that happen. So, again, yeah, about that dive, they got to get it down. They got to make sure they're focused. The boop on the hog gets them off. Bees has absolutely opened the field for the team. Look at that follow-up. And now Azrael has to move on to the objective. They get cleaned off. Another boop to get rid of Strange as well. And they just send the enemies off the field and packing.
And that is it. That is Ace Jokers taking it 3-2. They had to earn their meal tonight here, chat. They needed to win that fight. They needed to really work hard to win this match, win the series. Incredible plays coming through by Ace Jokers. Very fun match to watch in general here. This was that hero blade coming through by Squelch to clean up that mess of a fight. So good to watch. And such a good series. Both teams, once again, pushing it to the limits. Honestly, both games were so exciting to watch. All the matches tonight have been incredibly good Overwatch to watch here. And this is the problem, and Ace Jokers really showed us some top quality Overwatch from all sides.
Yeah, tight both ways. I mean, Joker's just edging it out there. They looked very, very confident on Elios there. They even just with that, like we say, that one switch up from Sir Laptop and the whole momentum of the team switched up. So it's impressive play from the team.
Yeah, no, definitely. And from here, we are just finishing it up. We've had such a great night. Ace Jokers took it 3-2, and then we also had a little bit earlier. We had Swinburne take out Leyline Dragons 3-1. It's been some great matches and some really fun Overwatch here. And no, most definitely great games all around.
Yeah, I'll say a quick thank you to everyone, obviously. Thanks to the production and everything, and all the guys that have set up the stream tonight, as well as AOE for making sure these kind of competitions happen. And also thank you, Opara, for joining me tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. And we have a wee little list of thank yous to be running through that just disappeared from my face to show myself instead. Big thank yous to our event producers, AOESports, which is Gat and Bees. And a big thank you, of course, to Koalas Esports, Bees, and Sdogga. Big shout out to our event coordinators, Bees, Gat, Raiden, and the AOE staff. Tonight, the streamer who brought it all to you today has been Gat, the voice in my ears and in my head. The casters, of course, myself and Stranger, popping off on the mic. Our stream technical assistants have been Gat, Shadow, Temporalic, and Sdogga Man. A big special thank you to all of our patrons. You guys are what really keep us going and give us the ability to keep this running. And a big special thanks to AOE, Gat, Papadaka, KE, the players, everyone in the AOE and KE communities, and everyone watching the stream. Thank you all so much for coming out, and I hope you all have a great night.
See you next week.
What you know about rolling down in the